The baby's fetal position is not correct, and the mother is bleeding profusely, and the condition is very critical. The obstetrician with blood on his hands in the operating room turned around and looked at the man behind him with a solemn expression. Mr. Chin, you have to make a decision. Which one do you want to protect, adults or children? Marcus Sterling stood at the end of the bed and glanced faintly at Victoria Sterling, who was hanging by a thread on the hospital bed. With a calm expression, and there was not even a ripple in his eyes, the woman in the bed is his wife and bore him a child. If the baby is not in the right position, both mother and child are likely to die. But Marcus Sterling did not panic in the slightest. He looked at Victoria Sterling as if he were looking at a stranger who had nothing to do with him. Unable to wait for an answer, the doctor couldn't help but shout again. Marcus Sterling looked away at the doctor. His thin lips are raised, but his smile is cold. What if I say I don't want big or small? As soon as these words came out, there was silence in the operating room. The doctors' faces were shocked, and their breathing was much heavier than usual. Victoria Sterling, who was lying on the hospital bed, was also stunned. She just married Marcus Sterling less than a month. Feng Zicheng's marriage. Marcus Sterling chased her first, and has always been obedient to her. Others say her. Treat her as a daughter to spoil, but it is such a man who spoils her infinitely and loves her. And he actually said such ruthless words when he had a difficult birth. At that moment, Victoria Sterling even wondered if she had misheard. What do you say? The doctor, apparently unable to believe what he had heard, stammered and asked again. Marcus Sterling looked at Victoria Sterling and smiled cruelly. And I said I don't want both. At that moment, Victoria Sterling felt like she was bent in the heart, and he struggled to get up. He wanted to ask Marcus Sterling why he was so affectionate when he was brought to the hospital, and why, after only a few hours, he seemed like a different person, but he couldn't get up. He had been injected with too much anesthetic, and now he couldn't move at all, so he could only stare at Marcus Sterling with bloodshot eyes, unwilling and desperate, waiting for his answer. At this time, a woman in a red evening dress walked into the operating room. Sister, long time no see. The woman smiled at Victoria Sterling, then stepped forward and grabbed Marcus Sterling's arm affectionately. Victoria Sterling was shocked. Vanessa Sterling. How could she be so close to Marcus Sterling here? Vanessa Sterling is Victoria Sterling's half-sister, and his mother Shin-chan is Qiao Yuanbin's original match. It's a pity that when Vanessa Sterling was 3 years old, Shin-chan died of illness, and then Qiao Yuanbin married Victoria Sterling's mother, and then gave birth to Victoria Sterling. Vanessa Sterling has always felt that Victoria Sterling's mother killed his mother, so he has always hated Victoria Sterling. Especially when Qiao Yuanbin announced that he would hand over Qiao's uprising business to Victoria Sterling to inherit, his hatred for Victoria Sterling reached its peak. You must be wondering, why did you suddenly treat you so hard like a different person? The smile on Vanessa Sterling's face gradually turned vicious. Because you is my boyfriend and I asked him to chase you, and I arranged all this. He doesn't love you at all, he just married you to help me take back Qiao's business. Victoria Sterling's pupils trembled, and she looked up at Marcus Sterling with tears in her eyes. He's lying, isn't he? Tell me, he's lying. You're not a liar, you genuinely love me, tell me. He waited, he explained, but in the end, it only waited for the man's face to be bored. Don't look at me like that, it's disgusting, Marcus Sterling said coldly. Ayua is right, I didn't love you at all, I did all this for Ayua. Do you know that every time I hold you and talk to you, I feel sick and want to vomit? Thankfully, I'm finally getting through now. After you die, all your property will belong to me, and as for the evil seed in your belly, you must not keep it. Otherwise those old things on the board of directors will definitely try their best to make that little evil seed the heir, and I can't take this risk. The world collapsed, and Victoria Sterling's tears burst at this moment. He thought he had met a man worthy of his life, but it was all a calculated deception. A trap set by Vanessa Sterling to get revenge on him. Your child. Joshman struggled with all his strength and cried out. The child was innocent, let him go. His eyes were full of pleading, but this plea was exchanged for endless ridicule. Vanessa Sterling's stomach hurt from laughter, and he slowly walked to Victoria Sterling's bedside while holding his stomach, and then bent over Victoria Sterling. The vicious opening in his ear will tell you another secret. 9 months ago, after you got drunk in Danfeng Bailu, it was not Aunt Yu who was in the room with you at all, but a bad old man. Yu is disgusted with you. How can he be with you? I didn't expect you to be worth 1 million. Ha ha, ha ha ha. Vanessa Sterling laughed uncontrollably, vicious and glamorous. Victoria Sterling's face was bloodless, pale and weak. He couldn't swallow it anymore. He got up suddenly and spurted out a mouthful of blood. Not good. The mother is too emotional, has entered a state of shock, is ready to shock her, and now must stay awake. The doctor's voice grew farther and farther away, and Victoria Sterling lost consciousness, after a long time. Victoria Sterling, who was in a daze, heard a cold male voice in a daze, and tried to save him no matter what method was used. The domineering tone carries a condescending sense of dignity. Joshman struggled to open his eyes, trying to see who was saving her, but no matter how hard he tried, his vision was blurred. He only dimly saw a slender back, which was tall and cold, as inviolable as an emperor. Victoria Sterling was so weak that she was awake for only a moment before falling back into a coma. Before falling into a coma, he heard the doctor respectfully answer that it was the 9th Master, Chapter 2, 3 years after the domineering return, in the Imperial Capital Airport. Qin Juyu and a group of subordinates are picking up the airport at the airport gate. He is holding a huge pickup sign in his hand, and the sign has a few big characters written on it, welcoming Dr. Jocelyn to Huagua. Vanessa Sterling accompanies Marcus Sterling with a huge sun hat waiting for them together for almost 5 hours. Xiao Xia was a little impatient, and asked Yu irritably, "Will this Dr. Jocelyn really come to Huagua today? We've been waiting for a long time. And there's still no one to be seen, and there's nothing wrong with the news that I paid a lot of money to buy." Marcus Sterling reassured Vanessa Sterling and said, "Honey, wait a minute. As long as I can ask Dr. Jocelyn to see old man Qin Xiao will definitely agree to let me and my father return to the Qin family. With the Qin family as a backer, see who dares to look down on us again." As soon as she heard that she could return to the Qin family, Vanessa Sterling immediately changed her appearance, and she no longer looked irritable, but put on a docile appearance, nodded obediently and said, "Well, I will wait with you." In fact, when Vanessa Sterling chose Marcus Sterling, it was because she fell in love with the identity of his Qin family, although Marcus Sterling was only the young master of the Qin family's side branch. But it was enough. The Qin family was the oldest and most powerful in Huagua. The Shi family covers the sky in Huagua, and the Qin family's servants can walk sideways outside, not to mention the young master next to them. It's a pity that Marcus Sterling's parents did something stupid 3 years ago, causing their entire family to be removed from the Qin family. Vanessa Sterling was so angry that she almost broke up with Marcus Sterling at the time, and now that she heard Qi Juyu say that she had the opportunity to return to the Qin family, he was of course happy. Marcus Sterling and Xiao Xia were anxiously waiting, when there was a sudden exclamation from the exit of the machine, "What a cute baby." Still wearing mother-son clothes with her mother, cute to death. Mother is so temperamental. Should she be a big star? A mother and son in front of them are holding hands and walking from the exit of the plane. Mom is tall and beautiful, although she is wearing a simple white shirt and jeans. But this is very temperamental on her. The white shirt is clean and hearty. The radish jeans make his legs long and straight. He has huge sunglasses on his face, and his petite face is covered by sunglasses, but he can still see that the beautiful baby is about 3 years old in denim bib pants. His skin is white and tender, his hair is black and soft, and he also has the same big sunglasses as his mother on his little face. And he is as cute as a little adult. The super good-looking mother-son combination instantly attracted the attention of everyone at the airport, and Vanessa Sterling couldn't help but take a second look, but this look froze. "Victoria Sterling, you are not dead." Victoria Sterling, who had just stepped out of the exit, stopped and turned her head to look at the source of the sound. The enemy was very red when they met. Xiao Shi's eyes were half narrowed, and Vanessa Sterling didn't expect to bump into her just after returning home. which was really a narrow road. Vanessa Sterling was also looking at Victoria Sterling. White shirts, jeans, hair, what a big star, can't even afford a decent dress. It seems that he must have had a hard time in the past 3 years. Thinking of this, Xiao Xia was refreshed. He put on a high-minded look and ridiculed Victoria Sterling. I didn't expect you to be alive. How did you escape? Did you seduce the doctor? Oh, if you are virtuous with your mother, you will seduce a man with a fox. Victoria Sterling's eyes glazed over. Vanessa Sterling, speak more respectfully. He couldn't tolerate Vanessa Sterling insulting his mother, Xiao Tuanzi. Chibo Sterling also did the same, forked his waist and said, even I am only 3 years old, I know that you have to respect others. You are so old, why don't you know that the kindergarten teacher has not taught you? Old Vanessa Sterling's forehead flared up, and the green muscles were furious and said, you actually say that I am old, right? Chibo Sterling pointed to the green tendons on Vanessa Sterling's forehead. People are little ghosts, you see the wrinkles on your forehead are so thick. And you still say that you are not old. Chibo Sterling held her little hand and shook her head seriously. You have to pay attention to maintenance, old aunt. You see that my mother has no wrinkles on her face, and her skin is the same as mine. Victoria Sterling corrects her son, and Chibo Sterling twists his little face, which can be broken by blowing. The mother and son interacted sweetly, and Vanessa Sterling was trembling with anger. The bear child dared to call him ugly. She used thousands of skincare products. Could her poor mother afford it? Vanessa Sterling was furious and was about to teach Chibo Sterling a lesson, when Marcus Sterling suddenly called out to him, Dr. Jocelyn is out, come here, don't bother with dirty garbage, it will devalue you. Marcus Sterling glanced coldly at Victoria Sterling and Chibo Sterling, his eyes full of contempt, and snorted coldly at Vanessa Sterling. For the sake of Ayu's face, today I will let you go. Victoria Sterling, remember to hide a little in the future, and I will definitely not let you go if I see you again, as well as your Xiaoya Yenba. Vanessa Sterling stepped on her high heels and walked past Victoria Sterling with her head held high, picking up someone in front of the exit. Joshman glanced at them and didn't say anything, but Chibo Sterling was angry. He puffed out his cheeks and puffed out angrily. This old aunt is so rude. Mom, why did you let him go like this? Victoria Sterling smiled meaningfully. Don't worry, he had just heard Marcus Sterling. They were here to pick up Dr. Chaselin. At the exit of the plane, Leo Carter was pushing 2 huge suitcases and walked out, and Marcus Sterling greeted him warmly. You're Dr. Jocelyn's special assistant, Leo Carter, right? Hello, I'm Marcus Sterling Joe of the Qin family in the imperial capital. Dr. Celine was a skilled doctor, but he was a mysterious. And it was said that there was no disease in the world that he could not cure, but he rarely received medical treatments, and he never appeared in public, and no one knew what he looked like. Marcus Sterling spent a lot of money, and only asked for some information about his special assistant Leo Carter. But that was enough. The special assistant was found, and he was worried that he couldn't find Dr. Jocelyn. You should know about the Qin family in the imperial capital, right? That's good enough to invite Dr. Jocelyn, right? Marcus Sterling was complacent, and before he returned to the Qin family, he began to call himself the Qin family, but Leo Carter politely rejected him. I'm sorry, I don't know what you're talking about, please let me go, I'm in a hurry. Marcus Sterling is in a hurry, don't pretend to be garlic, I know you are Dr. Jocelyn's special assistant. Let's say, how much does Dr. Jocelyn want to visit? Leo Carter frowned, and was about to say something, when a clear girl suddenly came from the front. Lynn again. Victoria Sterling stood at the front of the exit, her beautiful peach eyes slowly sweeping. Qin Muyu and Vanessa Sterling gave them all the contempt. Don't talk nonsense with garbage, lest you lower your worth. In the 3rd chapter, Mommy is kidnapped. Victoria Sterling didn't say much. But as soon as he spoke, everyone's eyes moved to him. Leo Carter looked respectful, and as soon as Victoria Sterling spoke, he immediately did so, and never said anything more to Marcus Sterling, wasting her tongue with Vanessa Sterling. She walked straight through them and towards Victoria Sterling with her suitcase. In an instant, both Marcus Sterling and Vanessa Sterling were stunned. Victoria Sterling, you actually know Lin Yu. How do you know Assistant Lin? Xiao Xia gritted his teeth. I know, it must have been you who seduced Assistant Lin. You slut is really shameless. I don't know shame when I see a man hooking up with one. Assistant Lin, don't be deceived by his innocent appearance. In fact, he is a slut who can be a husband, and I don't know how many men he has slept with. Lin was speechless again. Did this eighth woman know who she was scolding? I definitely don't know. If I knew, I guess I would have knelt and licked it a long time ago. Victoria Sterling ignored Vanessa Sterling and left the airport with the baby walking in the wind. This is called a dimensionality reduction strike, and the reason is too lazy to take care of it, and the more reason is to reduce the value of oneself, outside the airport. Victoria Sterling's best friend Su Yushan was waiting outside, and the two girlfriends had not seen each other for a long time, and they hugged each other excitedly. Others will get old and ugly after giving birth. But you are good. Not only are you getting more and more beautiful, but your face is getting more and more tender. Sophie Turner teases Victoria Sterling to hand over your skincare secrets and give you a set right away. Victoria Sterling said generously, I don't regret it. The two talked for a while. But the old Leo Carter hadn't come out yet, and Victoria Sterling was a little puzzled and couldn't help but look back. Only to find that Lin had been stopped at the airport by Marcus Sterling's men again. Marcus Sterling brought several of his men over, apparently already ready, and Leo Carter was going to use a strong plan if he didn't cooperate. Xiao's eyes darkened. He handed over the baby to Su Yushan. You help me take a look at him first, and I will come when I go. Victoria Sterling moved her wrist to the pickup gate, although he didn't want to make much of a fuss when he just returned home. But Marcus Sterling, a scumbag, should have beaten him up a long time ago. Victoria Sterling walked back to the arcade and was about to make a move, when the gate of the airport was pushed open again, and countless bodyguards in black suits rushed in menacingly, surrounding Victoria Sterling, Lin Yu and others. Victoria Sterling frowned. Hey, it's not like Marcus Sterling's steady footsteps. Bodyguards one after another. A man in an ink-colored suit stood prominently. He has a slender figure, handsome features, and the contours of his face are as meticulously carved as if they were drawn with a stroke of a pen, and every detail is impeccable, especially the bottomless black eyes, which are enough to shock people at a glance. After seeing who it was, Marcus Sterling's face instantly turned pale. Jojo Master. He was so frightened that he couldn't say anything. How did you get here? Alexander Kingsley didn't even glance at Chin-ju. His cold gaze fell directly on Leo Carter. His gaze seemed to have some substantial strength, with a strong sense of oppression. Leo Carter, who was used to seeing big scenes, couldn't help but swallow his saliva nervously and took it away. Alexander Kingsley gave the order in a cold voice, and the bodyguards swarmed up and held Lin down again. What do you want to do? Joshman lunged in front of Leo Carter. You are too arrogant to rob the people in broad daylight, believe it or not. I called the police and asked the police uncle to arrest you. Alexander Kingsley then moved his gaze to Victoria Sterling. He stepped forward alone, but there were thousands of troops, and the powerful aura made Victoria Sterling feel a little breathless. Don't come back again. Victoria Sterling took out her phone and threatened very unimposingly. Come here, I'm really going to call the police. The man's contemptuous smile, his obsidian-deep eyes, stared at Victoria Sterling motionlessly. Report. Why don't you dare? Alexander Kingsley stepped forward and snatched the phone from Xiao Shimon's hand domineeringly. Then I'll help you report. After that, he pressed the alarm number on his mobile phone and dialed so strongly, so arrogantly. Victoria Sterling took a deep breath. He knew that even if the police came, they probably couldn't help the other party, so he gave up saying goodbye directly. Hugged. I know you are looking for Lin, and it was also for Dr. Jocelyn. Let go of Leo Carter. I will go with you. I know Dr. Jocelyn's next. Everyone was dumbfounded, especially Marcus Sterling and Vanessa Sterling. No kidding, how can you possibly know the whereabouts of Dr. Jocelyn? Vanessa Sterling sneered. I see, you must be trying to use this excuse to get close to the ninth master, right? What a scheming. Yeah, don't believe her. This woman is the best at deceiving people, and she is the third child who specializes in seducing men. If there is a mother, there must be a daughter. And he is not a good thing. Vanessa Sterling pretended to be innocent and kind, and looked at Alexander Kingsley with wide apricot eyes, wanting to take the opportunity to hook up with Alexander Kingsley, who expected that his flattery would only be exchanged for Alexander Kingsley a cold eye knife. Get out of the way. The man's gaze was like 1,000 years of ice, and Vanessa Sterling quickly shrank to the side in fright. He was most annoyed by this kind of woman who appeared to be behind her back. In contrast, the little girl who threatened to call the police, but finally found that the police did not work, and was willing to be arrested instead of her friend, is really frank. Alexander Kingsley's gaze swept to Victoria Sterling again, and Emperor Spotted gave the order to take it with him. Chapter 4. The Chin family. Victoria Sterling and Leo Carter were escorted away by the Chin family. This scene happened to be seen by Chibo Sterling, who was waiting for Victoria Sterling to come back outside the airport. Chibo Sterling's mouth opened into a big European shape, and the little fat hand hugged Sophie Turner's thighs, exclaimed, "No, Shanshani's mother was kidnapped." Su Yushan was looking at her phone, and when she heard the words, she hurriedly raised her head. Kidnapping? What are you kidding? In broad daylight, who would dare to engage in kidnapping at the airport? Before he could finish speaking, he saw a group of people walking out of the airport with Victoria Sterling and Leo Carter in their arms. Su Yushan's eyes widened. Someone really dared. Aunt Shan-chan, let's go and save Mommy. Chibo Sterling dragged Sophie Turner's clothes and said anxiously, but Sophie Turner hurriedly hugged Chibo Sterling and hid in the car. There are many people on the other side, and not only can they not save Victoria Sterling in the past, but they may also put themselves in it. So it is wiser to avoid the limelight first, protect the baby, and then secretly call the police. The place where Alexander Kingsley lives is called Shin-chan Mansion, and the villa here is built on the mountain, with a wide view, and standing on his balcony can take in the entire Dragon City, which is magnificent. Ordinary people don't even dare to get close. At this moment, a little boy about 3 years old was sitting in the bedroom of the main mansion of Shin-chan Mansion, holding a few full-score exam papers in his hand. The thin lips pursed the tails of his eyes and reddened slightly, as if he was trying to endure and not let himself cry. "Little master, don't be sad." Uncle Jong, the housekeeper, sighed and said, "You don't know the master's temper. He is the most taboo for others to ask your mother. And you still hit him in front of him. Of course he is angry, and the master will come back after a while. If you go to admit your mistake, he will definitely not punish you again. How can there be an overnight feud between father and son?" She clutched the exam paper in his hand tighter, and Wang Ma said, "If I get a full score in the Olympiad math exam, I will be able to see my mother." The housekeeper was speechless for a while. The young master was still young. It was normal for him to think about his mother, and what Mother Wang said was just coaxing the little master, who would have thought that adults couldn't do the Olympiad questions. And the little master, a 3-year-old child, could actually get a full score. Swindler. Xavier Kingsley kicked the toy in front of him, then turned back into the room. "If you lock him up, you will lock him up. He won't admit his mistakes. He is not wrong. Everyone has a mother. Why can't he see his mother?" At the same time, Victoria Sterling and Leo Carter were escorted into Fragrant Hill's house by Alexander Kingsley's men. Alexander Kingsley sat on a carved sandalwood chair, his legs folded, straight and slender. He lifted his eyelids and glanced at Victoria Sterling and Leo Carter with a cold gaze. "Tell me where Jocelyn is, and I'll let you go." Cold sweat oozed from the corner of Leo Carter's forehead, and he had come to see Dr. Jocelyn when he came to this Buddha. He glanced at Victoria Sterling to see what his master's attitude was. Victoria Sterling was unmoved, glared at Chin Yuching with the same cold gaze, and then snorted coldly. "Is this your attitude of inviting people?" "I don't know. I think you're kidnapping." Alexander Kingsley didn't press down coldly. Obviously Leo Carter was Jocelyn's assistant, but it was this little girl who came out of nowhere who replied. Leo Carter had also been glancing at the little girl with his peripheral vision, as if he was watching the little girl's face. Something was wrong. Alexander Kingsley didn't break it, and his eyes swept coldly at Victoria Sterling. "You shout a little louder. I promise it's going to turn out to be a real kidnapping." The other party's voice was not loud, but as soon as he opened his mouth, He had an indescribable aura, which made people dare not disobey him. If it had been 3 years ago, Victoria Sterling would have been scared to shut up, but now, he has long been accustomed to strong winds and waves, and even slipped under the sword of death countless times. He's not afraid of him. It is said that the Chin family is arrogant and domineering, and when I saw it today, it really deserved its reputation. Victoria Sterling sneered. I advise you not to waste your efforts, Dr. Jocelyn hates the Chin family the most. Haven't you heard of the rules he has made? The first is not to rely on the Chin family. Alexander Kingsley's face instantly became gloomy, like a sure demon from hell, extremely terrifying. He dared to talk to him in such a tone. This girl is not big, but she is not small. Of course, he knew that Jocelyn was not in the family. In fact, there is hardly anyone in the world who does not know that Dr. Jocelyn, who is known as Huatuor, everyone depends on it, but it doesn't depend on the Chin family, right? Alexander Kingsley sneered. There was a hint of cruelty in that smile. I want to see him. My assistant and your life are in my hands. In this case, Dr. Jocelyn, who saved the life, reported the 5th chapter of the Abuyakin family, and Victoria Sterling and Lynn were locked up by Alexander Kingsley. Victoria Sterling was furious. The Chin family really didn't have a good thing, whether it's Marcus Sterling, a scumbag who eats soft rice and hard food, or this lawless kidnapper I met today. It's all bad, but with this little broken house. I also want to pay attention to his innocence. Joshman took a hairpin out of his hair, straightened it, and inserted it into the keyhole, turning it lightly. I only heard a soft click, and Lynn was shocked when the lock was opened. Boss, you are too godly, right? Mere trifle. Joshman winked at Leo Carter. My uncle who lived next door when I was a child was very fond of picking locks. I learned from him. He was really good. There was no lock in the world that he couldn't pick. Leo Carter, boss. You're not an easy neighbor. There are bodyguards everywhere in Shin-chan Mansion, and it is not easy to sneak out quietly. However, after narrowly escaping death 3 years ago, Victoria Sterling deliberately learned martial arts and became proficient. He took Lin Yu cautiously shuttling around the villa, trying to avoid the bodyguards and preparing to sneak out. At this moment, the door of one of the bedrooms suddenly opened, and a small figure walked out of the bedroom rubbing his eyes. Victoria Sterling hurriedly stopped Lin Yu, and he poked out half of his head from the corner of the wall to check the situation, and he was instantly stunned when he saw it. Wasn't that his 7th baby? When did the little one come here? Seeing that there was no one around, Joshman hurriedly rushed over, hugged Chibo Sterling, and then quickly hid. 7 baby. Why are you here? Victoria Sterling carried the little one to the corner and asked in a low voice. Did you bring you here from your aunt? Chin Shiza blinked his beautiful peach blossom eyes, looked at the strange aunt in front of him in surprise, and was a little confused for a while. Who is this aunt? How could she hug casually? Her father would have been angry if he knew, and he never allowed anyone to hold her. But this hug seemed to be good, and he had a faint scent of gardenias, which smelled good. Where have you gone? She's really, how can she bring you a child? Victoria Sterling didn't notice the child's abnormality. He held the little one tightly in his arms, patted him on the back and comforted him. You must be frightened, you don't dare to speak, poor little bite. Don't be afraid, Mom is here. With Mom here, you will definitely not let anyone hurt you. She was startled, and his eyes widened suddenly. Mom, you are my mother. The little guy hesitated and asked, otherwise. Joshman stretched out his hand and touched the bridge of his son's nose. How frightened he was. Stupid, he didn't even know his mother. Chin Shiza was surprised and delighted. She was really a mother. It turned out that Wang's mother didn't lie, and she could really see her mother with a full score in the Olympiad math exam. Mom. Chin Shiza opened his little hand and hugged Josman's neck excitedly. Great, she also has a mother. And no one will say that he is a child without a mother in the future. The scene of mother and son meeting was touching. However, Chin Shiza's mother alarmed the bodyguards not far away, and the bodyguards rushed over to check the situation. Joshman didn't have time to think about it, and hurriedly hugged the child and began to run away. Hold it! The bodyguards swarmed and chased after them. And more bodyguards were alarmed. and the captain in charge of the command ordered someone to block the main road down the mountain. Victoria Sterling and Leo Carter are the birds of the wings, and there is no escape. Oops. Victoria Sterling, who was hiding behind the rocks, was anxious. There were so many people on the other side, she couldn't beat them, and she couldn't escape. What could she do? Just when he was anxious, a small hand suddenly tugged at the corner of his clothes. Mom. Are you going down the mountain? She looked up at Victoria Sterling with a small face. I knew that there was a hidden path to go down the mountain. Victoria Sterling looked at her son suspiciously, obviously not convinced. No kidding, how could you possibly know that they were all here for the first time? And his little baby knew that there were ghosts on the way down the mountain. Really? Shiza beckoned to Victoria Sterling. Mom. You talk to me. The little guy turned around and ran towards the deep mountains. 7. Don't run around, baby. I'm afraid that my son will get lost. Victoria Sterling hurriedly chased after him. Victoria Sterling didn't believe her son knew the way, but she didn't expect the little guy to walk around and actually take him down the mountain. Joshman was stunned. 7. Baby, how do you know the way down the mountain? Shiza frowned, thinking that if he had lived here for 3 years, he would definitely be able to find a path to sneak down the mountain. But if he said that, would his mother think that he was not well behaved, and then leave him alone? She didn't dare to talk with a small mouth. Did you and Shani figure it out through the Chin family's Victoria Sterling, who went up through this trail? It is worthy of being my son, and you can remember the road after walking once. She nodded hesitantly. Yes, but who is Aunt Shan-chan? Wait, what about San-chan? Joshman suddenly realized a serious question. God, we won't forget about Shan-chan in the mountains, right? Victoria Sterling looked back at Xiangshan behind her. The mountain was brightly lit at this moment. It was obvious that his escape had alarmed everyone, and the Chin family must have mobilized all their forces to start Susan's search for him. Going back to save Su Yushan now is tantamount to throwing himself into the net. But if he doesn't go back, it's not Victoria Sterling's character. And he will never leave his friends. Victoria Sterling was about to hand over the child to Linyu, and then go back to save Su Yuching by herself, but heard Leo Carter take the lead and say, Boss, you take the child away first, I will go to the mountain to save Su Yushan. But Victoria Sterling is not reassured. Don't hesitate, Leo Carter said. 7. The baby is frightened tonight, so it's better for you to accompany him. Don't worry, I've also learned martial arts, and I'll be fine. Joshman looked at the child in his arms, and the little one was indeed frightened, and he talked less. Joshman couldn't bear to leave the child behind, so he agreed. Well, you have to be careful. Good. Lin then returned to the mountain the same way he came, while Joshman left with the child, completely unaware that it was not Chibo Sterling who he had taken away, but Xavier Kingsley, the only son of the Chin family's young master, Alexander Kingsley. Chapter 6. The little master ran away from home. In the study, Alexander Kingsley took a closer look at a photograph of a woman's back, wearing a white coat, her jet black hair draped down like satin, so beautiful that people couldn't take their eyes off it. Alexander Kingsley always felt that he had seen this back there, but he could never remember that he should not have seen it, because this picture was of Dr. Jocelyn, and it was the only photograph of Dr. Jocelyn in the world. It's a pity that the back shot is still a little blurry, and looking for Dr. Jocelyn based on this photo alone is tantamount to looking for a needle in a haystack. The ninth master is not good. Alexander Kingsley's henchman, Lucas Miller, suddenly rushed in, startling Lin and the woman he had captured today. The man was just caught, and he escaped tonight. As the captain of the bodyguard team, Lucas Miller blamed himself very much. He thought that the ninth master would be furious and punish him severely. Unexpectedly, Alexander Kingsley just glanced at him faintly, without any surprise. I already knew. Lin Zixiao's eyes widened, and his face was full of disbelief. You, how would you know? Alexander Kingsley ignored him, and swept his eyes to the phone in the corner of the table, which showed a large map with 2 red dots, one moving towards the city and the other going up the mountain. Lin Zixiao also noticed the mobile phone, and was even more shocked in an instant. You pressed the locator on the 2 of them. When did you press it? He didn't notice it at all. Alexander Kingsley's afterglow swept coldly over Lin Zipin. His eyes were as cold as a knife. He didn't find this. What do you want? Lucas Miller lowered his head in shame. His subordinates were derelict in their duties. Please punish the ninth master. This time remember it first, and then if there is a mistake, the family law will deal with it. Alexander Kingsley tossed the phone to Lin Zipin and sent someone to keep an eye on the girl. She would definitely be able to lead us to Jocelyn. It was Alexander Kingsley who did not punish Ling Zixiao, not because he was soft-hearted, but because he deliberately let Victoria Sterling go. Back at the airport, Victoria Sterling was quietly at Victoria Sterling when she said he knew the whereabouts of Dr. Jocelyn. I pressed the locator on my body, and then deliberately locked him in a room that was not very tightly guarded, just waiting for him to escape. If he really knew Jocelyn's whereabouts, he would definitely contact Jocelyn after he fled, and that was the perfect time for him to close the net. Unaware that someone had a locator pressed on him, Joshman fled to the city center with his son, and then found a hotel to stay in temporarily. 7. Baby, thank you for coming to save Mom today. Victoria Sterling dropped a kiss on Chin Shiza's forehead and whispered to him, "It's okay now, we have escaped from the bad guys, let's sleep in peace." Chin Shiza hugged Victoria Sterling's arm tightly and refused to let go. "I don't want to sleep." "Why?" Victoria Sterling asked, puzzled. Chin Shiza lowered his thick long eyelashes and said, "I am afraid that my mother will be gone when I wake up." It was not easy for him to find his mother, and he didn't want to lose her mother again so soon. The pitiful appearance of the little guy can make Victoria Sterling feel distressed. His poor baby was actually scared into such an evil Chin family. In this life, they don't want him to follow the Chin family. Even if he jumps off the mountain and is pointed at the head with a gun, he will never follow his feelings, and the family is not afraid. Joshman hurriedly took his son into his arms. 7. The baby is good, and the mother will never leave you. Is this good? Mom sleeps with you. You hug Mom. Mom won't be gone. Chin Shiza's face turned slightly red. Is it okay? He always slept on his own. My father said that hugging makes people weak. No one has ever hugged him since he was a child. And he can't hold a doll when he sleeps, of course. Victoria Sterling went to bed with her son in her arms, although Chibao is already a big child. Older children can sometimes be held by their mothers to sleep. The gentle embrace came. Chin Shiza was enveloped by the fragrance of gardenias. He stretched out his little hand to wrap his arms around his mother's neck, and felt that he was about to faint with happiness. Is this what Mom is embracing? It's so warm. It's so fragrant. Unlike his cold father, his mother is warm and fragrant. No wonder the children in the kindergarten show off his mother to him. It turns out that his mother is really 10,000 times better than his father. Victoria Sterling originally wanted to call Su Yushan to ask about the situation after coaxing the child to sleep, but the child was frightened. He moved slightly, and the little guy hugged him tightly and was still muttering to himself in his sleep and shouting to his mother not to leave. Victoria Sterling couldn't help but move anymore and could only sleep with her children. The next morning, Victoria Sterling finally found time to call Su Yushan, who expected that he would listen to Sophie Turner before he could ask how Sophie Turner was on the other side of the phone. The ghost cried wolf and howled, slowly, "I'm sorry for you. I lost your son. Woo woo woo, I'm sorry. I didn't pay attention to him last night. He disappeared, you hit me and scold me. I'm not a human being. I'm useless. I deserve to die." Victoria Sterling said goodbye speechlessly, scolded Chibao, "In my place. Hey. You found him." Sophie Turner was shocked that his family was slowly becoming too strong, not only escaped from the kidnappers alone, but also found his missing son overnight. "Well, I met 7 babies by chance, and he was terrified, so I brought him back first," Victoria Sterling explained. "Thank you for coming and saving me. You're okay. I'm so happy. Oops." Chibao woke up. "I'll go coax the child first, and we'll talk later." Victoria Sterling hung up the phone in a hurry, leaving Su Yuching with a confused face. What a mess. He didn't go to save Victoria Sterling, he just called the police. Could it be that the police went to save people? It's possible. At the same time, Xiangshan Mansion was in a mess, and the housekeeper Uncle Zhong went to wait for the little master to get up as usual. But when he opened the door, he found that the bed was empty, and there was no half-figure. No, Uncle Jong hurriedly ran to Alexander Kingsley's study. And the little master ran away from home. Chapter 7. Cute bow is smashed. Chibo Sterling carries a duck bag on his back, stands on Century Square, and takes the first step to save his mother. Aunt Shan-chan always treats her as a 2-year-old child and does not let him participate in the operation to save his mother, so he sneaks out early in the morning before Aunt Shan is awake, and he wants to save his mother himself and prove that he is not a 2-year-old child. Chibo Sterling was about to ask a kind passerby aunt if she had seen her mother, but before she could find it, a group of bodyguards dressed in black suddenly rushed over and surrounded her. "Little master, I can be regarded as finding you." Bodyguard Captain Ling Zixiao stepped forward and hugged Chibo Sterling, and said with a long breath, "How did you run to the city alone? Next time it can't be like this again. The ninth master is very worried." "You let go of me." Chibo Sterling, fluttering 2 little short legs like a fish out of the water, constantly struggling. "I am going to find my mother." Lucas Miller suddenly had 2 big and small ancestors in one head. "Don't you mention your mother again. Don't you know that this is the taboo of the ninth master?" The background of the young master of the Qin family has always been a mystery. Alexander Kingsley was a natural cleanliness fetish, and he would feel disgusting when any woman came near him. In his memory, he had never touched a woman. As a result, early one morning, there was suddenly an extra lullaby at the door of Shin-chan Mansion, and in the cradle lay Xavier Kingsley, who had just been born for a few days. And there was a note on the cradle, saying that this was Alexander Kingsley's son. Of course, Alexander Kingsley didn't believe it, and he didn't plan to ignore it, but old man Qin didn't know why. And he insisted that this was the child of the Qin family. Under the pressure of the old man, Alexander Kingsley had to take the baby for a DNA test, and the result was unexpected. The baby was really Alexander Kingsley's child. Alexander Kingsley, after nearly 10 tests, the results were the same. So he kept the child. There are many rumors about who the child's mother is and how the child came about, but the ninth master can't listen to this, and every time he hears someone gossiping, he will be furious. Over time, the young grandmother became a taboo in the Qin family, and she didn't dare to mention it again. Lucas Miller took Chibo Sterling back to Fragrant Hills Mansion. Alexander Kingsley's face was gloomy. He glared at Chibo Sterling coldly, and said angrily, "Xavier Kingsley, you're getting bolder." Chibo Sterling looked up. "Yo, isn't this the trafficker who kidnapped Mom at the airport? It's really hard to find a place to find it, and it takes no effort to get it." At this moment, Chibo Sterling's mind flashed countless scenes from the Superman cartoon, and the small universe exploded in an instant, wriggling and running out of Lucas Miller's arms, and then rushing to Alexander Kingsley and aiming at it. Alexander Kingsley's hand opened his mouth and bit it. "Badass. You return my mother." Everyone was stunned instantly. No one thought that the little young master, who has always been calm and introverted, would dare to bite the ninth master. You know, the little young master is the most afraid of the ninth master. On weekdays, the ninth master swept over with a glance, and the little young master would bow his head and admit his mistake. But today the little young master not only did not admit his mistake, but also called the ninth master a bad guy, and mentioned the matter of the young grandmother. Alexander Kingsley's face instantly darkened, and his expression could be called terrifying. The housekeeper was frightened, and hurriedly rushed over and hugged Chibo Sterling and covered his mouth to prevent the little guy from talking nonsense and making Juyi angry. "Master, you dissipate your anger. The little master must be frightened outside to talk nonsense." The housekeeper nodded and admitted his mistake for the little guy. "And I will take him down and teach him well. The little master has just come back, so don't punish him again." Alexander Kingsley's expression was cloudy and frightened, and I saw that he was in good spirits, and locked him up for me, and did not step out of the room until he realized his mistake. The housekeeper hurriedly retreated with Chibo Sterling, for fear that this little ancestor would contradict the ninth master. After the butler stepped back, Dr. Simon Ho's face changed, who had witnessed all this. He was a close friend of Alexander Kingsley and knew his son very well. Qin Shiza is simply a miniature version of Qin Yu. He was paralyzed when he was only 3 years old. When did he have such a rich expression on his iceberg face, which was the same as Alexander Kingsley, Dr. Simon Hu sensed that something was wrong, and couldn't help but say, Zoe's reaction today was too abnormal, so let's ask the doctor to come over and check it out. I warned you a long time ago. The child's heart is very delicate, and it is easy to induce schizophrenia when stimulated too much, and your family has a history of this disease after all. Before he could finish speaking, Alexander Kingsley's gloomy gaze swept over, and Dr. Simon Hu quickly shut up, not daring to mention it again. Schizophrenia is another taboo in Shin-chan province. I didn't call you here to teach me how to raise children. Alexander Kingsley slapped a document on Dr. Simon Hu's face, and Dr. Simon Hu took the information and whispered, Aren't I also concerned about my eldest nephew? This is Victoria Sterling's profile, which records everything about Victoria Sterling's life, including the hospital where he was born and the results of every exam he took in elementary school. It only took Alexander Kingsley half a day to find someone to find out all the details of Victoria Sterling's records. Dr. Simon Hu probably flipped through it. And when he saw Victoria Sterling's academic qualifications, he couldn't help but exclaim, Yo, a top student of St. Mary's Medical College. Who is this little girl? Do you think that you can't decorate your mind with anything useful except for falling in love? Alexander Kingsley glanced at Dr. Simon Hu with disdain, and then said with a straight face, This woman is related to Dr. Jocelyn, and I want you to hire him to be a brain doctor in your hospital. Dr. Simon Hu's eyes widened. But he studied cardiology. Alexander Kingsley didn't answer. His obsidian eyes grew darker. Victoria Sterling did study cardiology, and Dr. Jocelyn was a brain specialist. Don't worry so much. Do as I say. Chapter 8, The Palace Level Slap in the Face Weekend. Victoria Sterling took her son to Jiangyun District to see a house. Jiangyun District is also known as the Rich Area. The location is second only to Shin-chan Mansion and Zijin Pavilion Dragon City. Rich and powerful people basically buy houses here, and having real estate here is also a symbol of status, with Victoria Sterling shuttling through the villas in Jiangyun District, enthusiastically introducing the characteristics of the house. Victoria Sterling and her son were concentrating on picking up the house, and the voice of Killing the Scenery suddenly sounded. Victoria Sterling, why did you bump into you again? I thought you had been thrown into the river in a sack by Qin Juye. But I didn't expect to be escaped by you again. Your life is really big. Without looking back, Victoria Sterling also knew who was killing the scenery. Vanessa Sterling, Manager Liu. Let's go inside and see. Victoria Sterling didn't bother to turn her head back, and went straight outside to bark all the time, which was really a bad mood. Vanessa Sterling's face was as black as coal, and she was accompanied by the society ladies in the same neighborhood. If he is crushed by Victoria Sterling today, how will he be in the circle in the future? Look at the house. You can really slap a swollen face and become fat. The house here is more than 100,000 yuan. Can you afford it? Vanessa Sterling smiled and said, Xiao Liu, don't take him with you. He's a poor ghost, not to mention the house. With all the money he has on him, I'm afraid he can't even afford our toilet here. As the words landed, society ladies laughed along. Vanessa Sterling felt like she had regained her face, and she looked even more proud. Victoria Sterling's face sank. He was a low-key person, but the dogs had bitten his trouser legs, and he would be a king if he endured it. Especially Chibao is still looking at it, and he must not lose in front of the baby. Manager Liu, which is the most expensive villa in your place? Victoria Sterling asked in a deep voice. Manager Liu was stunned for a moment, and hurriedly flipped through the information. It should be the No. 7 villa in the west, covering an area of 500 square meters. The house has 3 bedrooms, 2 living rooms, as well as a private cinema, a study, a private gym, and a large swimming pool on the roof, especially suitable for sunbathing or swimming pool parties. But the price is a little expensive to 180 million, and the first suite can be paid 20% in advance. Before Manager Liu finished speaking, Victoria Sterling directly interrupted him and asked for that set. He took out his bank card from his bag and threw it to manager Liu, and then spit out 2 words lightly, "full payment." As soon as this remark came out, everyone was stunned, and Vanessa Sterling's eyes were about to pop out. Although Jiangyun district is full of rich people, the money of the rich is either fixed assets or investments. Except for the top rich people like the 4 major families, no one can easily get 180 million. Vanessa Sterling also lives in Jiangyun Shell. And the villa he bought is not in a good location, which is the worst in Jiangyun district, spending more than 60 million. Marcus Sterling still wouldn't buy the buckle cord, and if he hadn't insisted, they would still be living in Joe's old dilapidated house. Victoria Sterling is a down-and-out single mother. Where did he get so much money? He must be quick to pay lip. In fact, he doesn't have a penny in his pocket. Victoria Sterling. You can pretend, Vanessa Sterling scoffed. Do you want to blow us up here and then take the kids away? It's just a little trick like a horse to deceive others, but it can't fool me. If you have the ability to pay in front of us, you will pay 180 million yuan for your broken card, and I bet you don't have 8,000 yuan. Victoria Sterling raised her eyebrows. What if you lose the bet? I'll take my head off and kick it for you. What do I want a dog's head for? Don't have a dog's head, hot pot. Victoria Sterling's face was full of disgust. Keep your head for yourself. I want to bet with you on the Chow family's old mansion. If you lose, return the Chow family's old mansion to me. Vanessa Sterling shuddered with anger. Okay, but if you lose, you lie on the ground and learn the dog barking, and then crawl out of Jiangyun district like a word is decided, and the two of them made a note. Then manager Liu took Victoria Sterling to go through the formalities. Vanessa Sterling felt very unhappy when she saw Victoria Sterling's calm and idle appearance, and sneered again, still pretending. Acting skills are really good. When you learn to crawl dogs for a while, you have to use your good acting skills. If you don't learn it, you will climb again. Society Radiance also laughed, waiting to see the show. None of them believed that a young girl in her 20s could have 180 million in liquidity. However, as soon as I transferred money to the bank, the clerk of the bank immediately offered Victoria Sterling as the Queen Mother. Miss Chow, your bank card is the supreme black card of our bank. There are only 10 in the world. There are 1 billion in the card. This time the consumption is 180 million. And there is 820 million left, and everyone was shocked again. No one expected that Victoria Sterling not only has 1 billion liquid assets, but also has only 10 Supreme Black cards in the world. The Supreme Black card is not something that can be applied for if you have money. You can only get it when you reach a certain level of status. And only the heads of the 4 major families have this kind of card in the huge Huagua. Chapter 9, Dr. Simon Hua's invitation. No, it's impossible. Vanessa Sterling couldn't take the irritation. He rushed forward, grabbed the bank clerk by the collar, and asked hysterically, "Are you the actor Victoria Sterling has hired from? Did you collude with Victoria Sterling a long time ago and deliberately act to deceive me? I'll give you double the price, and you'll demolish him for me now. This young lady, please let go. If you do this again, I will call the security guard. Double is not enough. Then I will pay 3 times the price you give me to demolish it. It is a broken shoe that no one wants, penniless. And with an unlucky ghost bear child, he will never have 1 billion in cash, let alone a supreme black card." Vanessa Sterling yelled like crazy, and bank clerk had no choice but to call the security guard and hold Vanessa Sterling down. "Please stop in moderation. This is the first bank in China, the largest bank in the world, and I am a serious worker. You are slandering me with a work card. Be careful, I sue you for slander." Manager Liu of the sales department couldn't help but say. "You don't believe him. You should always believe me. Your house is still sold to you by my apprentice. The money has been paid. Can you still have a fake?" Vanessa Sterling's face instantly became darker than a briquette. He knew Manager Liu, even if bank clerk could cooperate with Victoria Sterling to act. Manager Liu, the champion of real estate sales in Jiangyun district, would not cooperate with Victoria Sterling acts. So Victoria Sterling really has the money to buy the most expensive and luxurious villa in Jiangyun district. How is this possible? 3 years ago, he had obviously taken away everything from Victoria Sterling. the company, and the house, and even almost killed Xiao Shizman. How could Victoria Sterling make a comeback so quickly? Vanessa Sterling was shocked. Suddenly, several resentful glances shot at him from all directions, and the society ladies, who had come with him, glared angrily at Vanessa Sterling, who had taken Vanessa Sterling's word for thought Victoria Sterling is a poor single mother, so she laughed at him again and again. Who would have thought that Victoria Sterling was so rich, and there was a supreme black card that ordinary people couldn't get at all? God knows what kind of big people they offended. Society ladies hated it and blamed Vanessa Sterling for it. It's all to blame on this stupid woman. If it weren't for her, they could have had a good relationship with the new rich woman, and maybe they could have been promoted by the rich woman. The house that Vanessa Sterling bought was the most inferior house in Jiangyun district, and he couldn't hold his head up in the rich wife circle, so he sharpened his head and squeezed into it. And now it has caused society ladies of disgust. He suddenly became anxious, and said to himself without hesitation, "Don't be deceived by him, even if he has the money to buy a house. It is not worth befriending, because he offended the ninth master. I saw with my own eyes that he collided with the ninth master at the airport and was taken away by the ninth master and taught a lesson." As soon as the word Juye was released, the originally noisy hall was instantly silent, and everyone held their breath, and they didn't dare to gasp. In Huigua, there is only one ninth master, and that is Alexander Kingsley, the current head of the Qin family, the first family in Huigua. Even if he doesn't show up, his name alone can intimidate the quartet society ladies. You look at me, I look at you, with inquiry in my eyes. If the new rich woman really offends the ninth master, then it is not worth making deep friends. The ninth master is the heaven of Huigua. He stomps his feet. The world will tremble. What's wrong with the supreme black card? Vanessa Sterling, who really offended the ninth master and didn't know how to die, felt that she had won a game. And she was very proud, was about to take advantage of the victory to chase and explode Victoria Sterling. A few more ruthless news. At this time, a handsome man in a white coat suddenly walked over. He walked up to Victoria Sterling, and then took out his business card and handed it over. "Hello. Are you Miss Victoria Sterling? I am William Wu, a subordinate of Dr. Simon Hua. I heard that you are a top student of St. Mary's Medical College. Dr. Simon Hua is very interested in you, and would like to invite you to work at St. Peter's Hospital opened by Hua Jiakai. Do you see that you are interested?" Once again, the jaws dropped. The Hua family is one of the 4 major families, and Dr. Simon Hua is the best friend of the ninth master, and now Dr. Simon Hua ordered his subordinates to come and hire Victoria Sterling to work in St. Peter's Hospital, which is enough to prove that Joshman did not offend the ninth master at all. It's all Vanessa Sterling's fabrication. Society ladies suddenly became even angrier, and looked at Vanessa Sterling with a look that almost wished to cut him with 1,000 knives. Vanessa Sterling felt as if someone had suddenly poured a bucket of cold water on her head, and her face turned blue and white, which was wonderful. She couldn't believe that Victoria Sterling not only made a comeback, but also fell in love with the Hua family, one of the 4 major families, and he couldn't climb any of the 4 major families with all his might. Victoria Sterling just returned to China, and actually climbed into the Hua family. Why? Vanessa Sterling's sour nose was crooked. Victoria Sterling smiled like a flower, and he shook the words in his hand at Vanessa Sterling. "You lost the game. When I get home, remember to prepare the keys to Qiao's old house and the real estate book, and then send them to my new home. Now I'm going to go with this guy to St. Peter's Hospital to see my new job, and we'll see you back." Father Joshman left with his son in a chic manner under the shocked gaze of everyone. St. Peter's Hospital is a Sino-foreign joint venture hospital and is famous all over the world. With the support of the Hua family behind him, his momentum is even stronger, and no matter how many top medical students can't squeeze their heads in, as a result. Sanshao actually sent someone to ask him to be a doctor, and Victoria Sterling felt that the matter was not so simple. After the neurologist learned about the job information, Victoria Sterling thought it was incredible. "Are you mistaken? I studied cardiology, and I am only proficient in cardiology. I don't understand the brain department. I'm not mistaken. Our cardiology department is full, and there is a shortage of brain doctors right now, William Wu said succinctly. Miss Chiao is a top student at St. Mary's Medical College. Even if she has not studied brain science, I believe that after coming to our hospital for a period of internship, she will soon be able to get started. The salary of the doctors during the internship period in our hospital is also very high, with 5 insurances and 1 housing fund, and the treatment is the best in the whole Dragon City. The more he talked about Victoria Sterling, the more he felt like a pyramid scheme boss. But this job is really rare. The Hua family is very authoritative in the pharmaceutical industry. If he can take the opportunity to make friends or his family to take him back. His mother left him but was deceived by Vanessa Sterling, and Chin Muyu Lin Pharmaceutical is very helpful. Let me think about it. Victoria Sterling was about to leave. When she looked up, she suddenly saw a familiar figure, Alexander Kingsley, standing opposite him, his suit straight and neat, without a trace of wrinkles. And his dark eyes were deep, like a snowy night, silent and distant. He had obviously also seen Victoria Sterling's thin lips and smile in Chapter 10. Teasing the moment he saw Alexander Kingsley, Victoria Sterling immediately became vigilant, for fear that the man would wave his hand and summon a group of men to surround him. Although Victoria Sterling is very good and has no problem escaping, 7th baby is still playing with nurse in the nursery. The last kidnapping caused a big psychological shadow on the 7th baby, and the little one was so frightened that he became paralyzed, and Victoria Sterling didn't want her baby son to go through this again. Unexpectedly, Miss Chiao is not only a top student at St. Mary's Medical College, but also proficient in lockpicking. Alexander Kingsley paced over, his legs straight and slender, his steps were careless, but his aura was enough to crush the brightest male model on the catwalk. Which was really eye-opening. Last night, he saw the whole process of Victoria Sterling using a hairpin to open the door lock through the surveillance, skillfully and neatly, not at all like what everyone can do. In addition to being amazed, he began to wonder, who is this woman, after the prize? Joshman's expression was lazy, but his eyes were cold and clear, like ice and jade. Isn't Mr. Chin also proficient in kidnapping, and is he also good at tracking? He didn't spit out dirty words. But he was sharp at the sight of blood, and the corners of Alexander Kingsley's lips unconsciously smiled. It is also strange to say, if others dare to secretly ridicule Alexander Kingsley, the grave grass is estimated to grow taller than people. But Victoria Sterling did so, and Alexander Kingsley, instead of being annoyed, thought the girl was a little interesting. If I really wanted to kidnap you, do you think you can still stand here? The man's eyes were half narrowed, and there was danger in his dark eyes. Victoria Sterling pursed her lips, then looked up at Alexander Kingsley. The peach blossom eyes of the demon you were rarely dyed with a bit of aggression. What do you really want? Dr. Simon Hua suddenly hired me to come to St. Peter's Hospital, and you did the same. The beauty raised her eyebrows and looked disdainful. How could she not be coerced? So the temptation begins, and I advise you not to waste any more effort. Neither coercion nor inducement will tell the whereabouts of Dr. Jocelyn. Before Xiaosha could finish the comic, the man opposite suddenly stepped forward, and the distance between the two of them suddenly narrowed, and the tip of his nose almost hit his chest. Victoria Sterling subconsciously tensed up. He thought that the opponent was going to use it again, and was even ready to punch him with a left hook. Victoria Sterling was ready to punch. But the next second the man's slender paper caught his jet-black hair. Don't think so badly of people, he whispered in his ear and stroked his neck, and the atmosphere was beautiful. Victoria Sterling was stunned for a moment, thinking that it was not a temptation, but a temptation. I have to say that Alexander Kingsley definitely has the capital of color seduction. His face that has brought disaster to the country, and the people will be bumped into by the fawn if he looks at it more. The figure is also the golden ratio. The shoulders are broad and the waist is narrow, and a pair of long legs are thin and straight. Victoria Sterling can play all year round. Victoria Sterling was coloring when a chuckle suddenly came from above her head. I'm just here to pay you back. Alexander Kingsley pushed his fingers and a forcibly straightened black hairpin pierced into Victoria Sterling's hair. The card was the one Victoria Sterling used to pick the lock. Then, when she fled, she panicked and threw it to the one in Shin-chan Mansion, and Victoria Sterling froze suddenly. Only then did she realize that she had been teased. The man looked at Victoria Sterling for a long time, his thin lips raised with a contemptuous smile. He stepped back, about to distance himself from Victoria Sterling, when Victoria Sterling suddenly stepped forward and stepped on his toes with her slender heels. The ninth master bothered, his beautiful eyes like peach petals were raised, and his anger was full of demons. Alexander Kingsley was in a trance for a moment, vaguely feeling as if he had seen these seductive eyes somewhere. The man struggled to think about where he had seen these eyes, and his head was torn apart in pain. Well, Alexander Kingsley clutched his head with a pained expression. Victoria Sterling glanced at Alexander Kingsley suspiciously, thinking that she was stepping on her feet. This person was in the wrong place. Right, the man's cold brows were tightly furrowed, his face was as white as paper, and the corners of his forehead were oozing with cold sweat, which did not look like he was pretending. Joshman hurriedly helped him. "Are you okay?" The other hand subconsciously reached into the bag and touched the silver needle on the inside of the bag. It is the doctor's duty to save people. It is completely instinctive. However, the moment she touched the silver needle, Victoria Sterling hesitated. If he rescues Alexander Kingsley at this time, won't it reveal that he actually understands the brain case? But it's not appropriate to just leave it alone. It's really a dilemma. Chapter 11. Victoria Sterling is hesitating to save someone. When William Wu suddenly, a group of doctors rushed over. "Ninth Master, how are you? Don't worry if the old disease has recurred. I have already contacted Miss He, and she will come to treat you immediately. The Hua family is a medical family, or the family is proficient in medical skills, especially the youngest granddaughter of the old man Hua, or because he is said to be a medical genius, only 24 years old. His medical attainments are already very high, and the major awards in the medical field are soft, and he is deeply valued by the old man Hua. Now he is the deputy director of St. Peter's Hospital, and he is in charge of all the affairs of the hospital. Miss Hua in William Wu's mouth must be the cause of the disaster, since there is a doctor in charge. Victoria Sterling is too lazy to take care of this idle business, and turns around and plans to leave. Unexpectedly, Alexander Kingsley would hold on to his hand and couldn't break it. The man had a head attack and was delirious, and it was impossible for him to let go. Joshman was so embarrassed. "Can't he go? It seems that she can only trouble Miss Chiao to accompany Juyi into the ward." William Wu smiled. Alexander Kingsley has his own room at St. Peter's Hospital, which is luxuriously furnished and massive. When she first entered, Victoria Sterling almost thought that she was not in a hospital room, but in the presidential suite of a 5-star hotel. Is worthy of being the richest man in China, and the treatment is good. Victoria Sterling couldn't help but complain in her heart. After a while, Dr. Evelyn Hua hurried over. He was wearing a white coat and did not bring any expensive jewelry, but he had a noble temperament unique to a famous family. "She is very beautiful, but unlike Victoria Sterling's waist, she is the kind of gentle and classical beauty. The elders obviously prefer this kind of physiognomy." Brother Cheng may have been about to lean over Alexander Kingsley to heal because of the worry written on his face, when he suddenly caught a glimpse of Alexander Kingsley clutching Victoria Sterling's hand, which was like a needle piercing deeply Dr. Evelyn Hua's eyes. How could Brother Mileage hold this woman's hand? He obviously has a very serious cleanliness habit, and once he has skin-to-skin contact with any woman, he will be nauseous and vomiting. Even though he had guarded Alexander Kingsley for so many years, Alexander Kingsley was disgusted by his touch. Sometimes, he had to wear gloves when he saw Alexander Kingsley, or because of the rare aggression on his gentle face, he looked at Victoria Sterling coldly. "Who are you?" Victoria Sterling, a passerby who was kind enough to help, replied lazily. He was telling the truth. He was innocently implicated passerby, but this was like a provocation in his ears. Passers-by can have a skin-to-skin blind date with Alexander Kingsley. They have been childhood sweethearts for so many years, but they can't thank you much. kindly helped or bent Victoria Sterling viciously. "No good air, now you can go." Josh Mamba walked. But Alexander Kingsley dragged him to the ground and he had to be able to go. Victoria Sterling stood still, or glared at Victoria Sterling and refused to leave. How did she want to be paid? William Wu next to him was full of embarrassment and hurriedly explained to Dr. Evelyn Hua, "Miss, Juyi suddenly fell ill and grabbed Miss Chiao casually. We tried it, but we couldn't break it, so we could only let Miss Chiao come with me, or because of the anger that is difficult to quench, but there is nothing to be done." He can only order with a gloomy face, "Take the needle, and heal Brother Orange as soon as possible, so that this annoying woman can disappear as soon as possible." Nurse fetches the needle and starts acupuncture for Alexander Kingsley, and Victoria Sterling gets bored and casually looks at the needle. Looking at it, he suddenly realized that something was wrong. Although the acupuncture method can relieve migraines, it can also affect people's memory. If it is combined with hypnosis, it can even tamper with people's memories. Victoria Sterling's expression became subtle. "Isn't the relationship between the Qin family and the Hua family very good? The old man of the two families is even close friends. Why, or because of Alexander Kingsley, the grievances of the wealthy are really complicated." Victoria Sterling didn't have a good impression of the Qin family, and he was also a person who was afraid of trouble and didn't want to get involved in the battle of the wealthy, so he didn't say anything. As the distortion continued, Alexander Kingsley's emotions gradually calmed down, and he finally let go of Victoria Sterling's hand. Victoria Sterling didn't want to stay here anymore, so she hurriedly slipped away, lest she shoot him into a sieve with her gaze again. As soon as he left, the familiar scent of gardenias vanished. Alexander Kingsley frowned instantly, and unconsciously exclaimed, "Wow." Or because the hand holding the needle stiffened, he turned his head to look at Victoria Sterling's departing back, his eyes full of cruelty and malice. Chapter 12. He doesn't just know how to heal. The villas in Jiangyun district are all existing houses, fully furnished, and you can move in directly. So after Victoria Sterling left the hospital, she went straight back to the villa she had bought with a huge amount of money. After arriving home, he turned on the computer and logged into WeChat. And as soon as he logged in, countless teasing jumped out explosively. One of the accounts called Beast is the most active, sending several messages to Victoria Sterling in a row. "Dad, have you been watching the stock market lately? The stocks you made me buy go crazy. The 1-2 yuan of shares has now risen to 280, and it has made a net profit of 200 million in just 1 week. Beasts are inferior. Please take my knees, and you will be my own father from now on." Victoria Sterling sipped her tea slowly. Net profit of 200 million, just to buy his house. Okay, after a leisurely cup of tea, Victoria Sterling replied that by 9 o'clock tonight, all the shares had been sold. As soon as the news was sent, the beasts were not as good as sending a bunch of question marks and exclamation marks, and the beasts were not as good as the beasts. "Dad, you're not kidding. This stock is going crazy. Are you sure you want to throw it? You see, if Dad wants to lose all his money, you can also not throw it away. Beasts are inferior." No, you're a dad, listen to you. The beast is not as good as Thomas's real name, Tom Lynch, and is one of Victoria Sterling's henchmen, and half of Victoria Sterling's apprentice. Following Victoria Sterling learned hacking techniques, and countless bloody lessons told him that if he didn't listen to his father, he would suffer a loss in front of him. So although he was very reluctant, he still decided to listen to his father and threw away the stocks in his hand. Beasts are not as good as Dad. I'm getting more and more curious about your true identity. I heard that you have returned to China. When will you meet? Victoria Sterling has already helped Tang Li earn hundreds of millions, but who would have thought that they would never meet Tang Lin once? And they didn't even know whether his father Chiao was a man or a woman. The two have been communicating online, and although they have also video voiced, Victoria Sterling does not show up in each video. And the voice is also processed through a special voice changer. This makes Tom Lynch more and more curious. Who is his father Joe? You see, Dad's time has come, and I'll meet you. After that, it went offline, and people didn't talk much, which was just cool. Tom Lynch adores his dad Joe even more. After going offline, Victoria Sterling originally planned to tutor her son's homework, but as soon as she got up, a guest came. Marcus Sterling walked in arrogantly with Vanessa Sterling, but what Yaya said was, "Really, you really bought the most expensive villa in Jiangyun district." Marcus Sterling glanced at Victoria Sterling with slanted eyes, his eyes full of contempt. "But how could you possibly have the money to buy such an expensive villa? Let me guess, that black card is actually Dr. Jocelyn's, right? You're buying a house for Dr. Jocelyn, it's not yours at all, you're just an errand boy." Marcus Sterling and Vanessa Sterling are two of them, both of whom look down on people in the same way. Victoria Sterling looked at the hideous man in front of her and suddenly felt very distressed. The man was his first love, and they met online. At that time, Victoria Sterling was only 7 years old. But she had already shown an intelligence beyond the ordinary. Other children are not even good at arithmetic. He can already use advanced algorithms to make advanced computer programs. He can't play with his peers, so he often surfs the internet. By chance, he met a boy with the screen name Eternal Night, who was a programming boss and a hacker genius, and the two hit it off at first sight and soon became best friends. It's a pity that in the 15th year of Jocelyn, the Eternal Night suddenly disappeared, and he seemed to have evaporated from the world. His avatar is forever black and white. As Caught in the Eternal Night as his name, Joshman went crazy looking for him. But the other party was a master hacker. Except for the IDY of Eternal Night, he didn't leave any traces on the internet, and no matter how hard Victoria Sterling tried, he couldn't find any news of him. It wasn't until 2 years ago that Yongye suddenly went online again, telling Victoria Sterling that he had been in a car accident, suffered a blow to the head, and his memory was missing, so he never went online. He offered to see Victoria Sterling, who agreed. And then he met with Marcus Sterling. To be honest, Marcus Sterling and Victoria Sterling's imaginary Eternal Night are very different. But there is a difference in personality between people on the internet and in reality, plus the other party was in a car accident and suffered brain trauma. And it is understandable that there is a huge difference in personality. Love blinded Victoria Sterling, who trusted Marcus Sterling with all his heart and did not guard against him in the slightest. Now look at the stupid face of Marcus Sterling, and the Eternal Night who was cold and wise on the internet and played the world in the palm of his hand. Victoria Sterling couldn't help but roll her eyes, thinking to herself that he had a brain damage. He had clearly changed his brain, and he had replaced it with an Alzheimer's brain. What are you two doing here? Are you here to give me the keys and real estate deeds of Chiao's old house? Victoria Sterling glanced at Qin faintly. Her gaze was as cold as ice. Put things on the table, you can get out. He actually didn't want to believe that the man with a hideous face in front of him was the Yongye he loved deeply. But there were many little secrets that only he and Yongye knew. Marcus Sterling could tell, and Yongye was a hacker genius. His number was heavily protected, and it was almost impossible to steal the number. Why did the person he loved become the ugly and strange appearance he is today? Even a genius like Victoria Sterling couldn't answer him, and didn't want to look at him like this, so he looked away and gave another cold eviction order. You are not welcome here. Chapter 13. Threatening Victoria Sterling's indifferent attitude angered Marcus Sterling. He said with a dark face, "Victoria Sterling, who are you showing your face to? Do you really think this is your house?" Open his mouth and close his mouth. The Chiao family's old house. If he really can afford such an expensive house, he will still be so worried about the Chiao family's old house. It is clear that he has no money to buy a house, so he can't wait to cheat the Chiao family's old house back. Qin felt that he had seen through Victoria Sterling, and his arrogance became even more arrogant. This is not your house, so the bet is not counted at all, but if you can help me make an appointment with Dr. Joshua, I can consider giving you the old house of the Zhou family. After Lin was taken away by Qin, it was as if the world had evaporated, and there was no more news. Marcus Sterling was in a hurry. He had to find Dr. Jocelyn's whereabouts before Qin. This was his only chance to return to the Qin family. Now Lin can't find him, so he can only start from Victoria Sterling. Since Victoria Sterling was able to get Dr. Jocelyn's black card, it means that he also knows Dr. Jocelyn. So Marcus Sterling plans to use Joe's old mansion as bait to trick Victoria Sterling into helping him find out, and Dr. Jocelyn will find it later Victoria Sterling kicked it. He won't give it to the Chow family's old house. Although the house is broken, but the area is large, and it is worth a lot of money when sold. Anyway, Victoria Sterling is a fool. Isn't it easy to cheat him? Shin-ju felt that he had a chance to win. But Victoria Sterling looked at him as if she was mentally retarded. First of all, the gambling contract signed with me by your wife, Vanessa Sterling, says that if I can buy the most expensive villa in Jiangyun district with my credit card, he will give me the Chow family's old house. The meaning of this sentence is that even if the card is not mine, and the house is not mine, as long as I swipe the card, your wife will lose. And you will have to give me the Chow family's old mansion for nothing. Secondly, the title deed is in my name, so this house is mine, and I want you to get out, so you have to get out. Finally, you garbage want to see Dr. Jocelyn stop dreaming, and go home and wash and sleep. A series of cannonball-like attacks caught Marcus Sterling off guard. Marcus Sterling's face turned pale, and he said angrily, "Impossible, you don't fool me. How can Wire lose if the card is not yours?" Victoria Sterling glanced at Shin-ju and yawned lazily. "If you don't believe it, we can go to court against Bogong and see who ends up with the money." The bet was drafted by Victoria Sterling, who could make sure that the bet was legally valid and that Vanessa Sterling would lose. Shin-ju's face became even more ugly. He hadn't seen the resistant blockage covenant, so he couldn't tell if what Victoria Sterling said was true for a while. He is so confident that he dares to go to court with him, and it is estimated that the gamble has some doorways. Thinking of this, Shin-ju glared at Vanessa Sterling viciously, blaming him for acting recklessly. Vanessa Sterling's face was full of grievances. He just thought about making Victoria Sterling ugly. How could he have thought that he really had so much money? Victoria Sterling, don't forget, your mother is still in my hands. Ming couldn't play Marcus Sterling. And started to play Yin. He smiled suspiciously, and said fiercely, "If you don't want your mother to return to the West, just listen to me obediently and help me make an appointment with Dr. Jocelyn. I'll give you 3 days, and if you can't make an appointment, I'll cut off your mother's finger every day that passes." Victoria Sterling's face instantly became extremely gloomy. He was a genius, if he thought that he actually had 10,000 ways to bathe and ruin Vanessa Sterling. But he couldn't do that, because his mother was still with Marcus Sterling in the hands of Vanessa Sterling. In the past 3 years, he has used countless methods to check his mother's whereabouts, but he has never been able to find out. It seems that the car accident did not completely take away Youngye's IQ. At least he is still very talented in Tibetans. Victoria Sterling returned to China this time to investigate her mother's whereabouts. But she didn't expect to be threatened by Marcus Sterling before she could start the investigation. In St. Peter's Hospital, Alexander Kingsley woke up from a coma, or because he gently stepped forward with a bowl of decoction. "Brother Cheng, did his head still hurt? I boiled you my special decoction, which is prepared according to your favorite taste, which can effectively relieve migraine. Try it." As he spoke, he scooped up a spoonful of decoction and handed it to Alexander Kingsley himself. But Alexander Kingsley avoided it coldly, and his tone was indifferent. Or when I think of Alexander Kingsley holding Victoria Sterling's hand when he was unconscious, and the way he called Wen-sha affectionately, my heart instantly twisted like a knife. At this time, the mobile phone rang suddenly, and Alexander Kingsley answered the phone. "Ninth Master, it's not good." The housekeeper's voice came from the other end of the phone, and his tone was anxious. "The little young master is on a hunger strike, and he refuses to eat no matter how much he persuades him. Come back and take a look." Alexander Kingsley's face instantly became gloomy. First ran away from home, and now he is on a hunger strike. This kid is really against him. Chapter 14. When the poor young master Alexander Kingsley returned to Shin-chan Mansion, the housekeeper Uncle Jong was trying to persuade the young master to have dinner. "Master, you haven't eaten for a day. I specially instructed the kitchen to make you your favorite crystal shrimp dumplings, as well as custard buns. Eat a little bit, don't eat it." Chibo Sterling twisted the little bun's face to the side and said angrily, "If you don't let me see my mommy, I won't eat." And he doesn't like to eat crystal shrimp dumplings and custard buns. There is no taste at all. He likes to eat maro shuawang, spicy crayfish, and chopped pepper fish head. This is what real men should eat. What, crystal shrimp dumplings, custard buns? Children only eat that kind of thing. Uncle Jong was worried. "Young master, I know you miss your mother, but if you want to think about it, you can't skip eating. You're so young that you don't eat all day and you're going to get sick hungry." "I don't care. I only eat mommy's cooking," Chibo Sterling shouted playfully. "If you don't let mommy come out and cook for me, I won't eat." Uncle Jong still wants to persuade again. At this time, a cold voice suddenly sounded, "If you don't eat, you will be hungry." Alexander Kingsley's tall and slender figure appeared outside the door. He was dressed in black, and his face was grim, as if he had come to harvest life. As soon as he appeared, the air pressure in the entire Shin-chan mansion dropped several degrees, and the servants all held their breath, and the atmosphere did not dare to breathe. Uncle Jong was also afraid, but he felt more sorry for the little young master. So he had the courage to intercede for the little young master. The ninth master was angry. The young master was still young. He couldn't be hungry like this. It was because you had always treated him as a child, so he became more and more disagreeable. Alexander Kingsley interrupted Uncle Jong mercilessly, and then walked towards Chibo Sterling with a cold iceberg face. "Chin Shiza, you should know my character. I have always been the same. Now I'll give you two choices. Sit down and eat honestly, or never eat again. The choice is yours." The man's voice was extremely cold, and the servants all gasped, worthy of the decisive and cold-blooded ninth master, who was so ruthless to his own son. But now the little master should be able to eat obediently. Uncle Jong brought crystal shrimp dumpling sauce to coax the little master to eat, unexpectedly, before the crystal shrimp dumplings were served. Chibo Sterling grabbed the custard bun next to him, aimed it at Alexander Kingsley's face and threw it over. "The big devil, eat me a move." Snap! The custard bun smashed Alexander Kingsley accurately's face, and then fell to the ground. The air instantly froze, and everyone's hearts rose to their throats. What did they see? The little young master actually bandaged the ninth master with custard. In the past, the ninth master spoke, the little young master was obedient. And he didn't even dare to put his mouth up. Why is he so bold today? It's not that he endured it for too long, and finally broke out. Alexander Kingsley's face was gloomy and terrifying, and the air pressure in the room instantly dropped by more than 10 degrees. And everyone was so frightened that they didn't dare to make a sound. But Chibo Sterling was not only not afraid, but also dared to make a grimace at Alexander Kingsley. Big devil, I'm not afraid. If you have the ability, you will come and arrest me, and run away after scolding. The little short leg is called a fast." Alexander Kingsley's face was unprecedentedly terrifying. Good boy, he had become like this after only a few days of not teaching him, and if he didn't clean him up, did he think that it was his turn to call the shots in Shin-chan Mansion? And what were he still doing in a daze? Alexander Kingsley's cold gaze swept past his men behind him like a knife, and he was taken back for me. Lucas Miller was embarrassed, and hurriedly took his bodyguards and servants all over the world to find the little master. Chibo Sterling is just a kid after all, and he can't outrun so many adults no matter how fast he runs. After a while, he was slipped back by Ling Zixiao, and he actually bullied more and less, which was too despicable. The seventh baby is angry. "The big demon king. You can't win. We have the ability to fight alone." Alexander Kingsley looked at Chibo Sterling with cold eyes. His eyes slanted with ice. "Xavier Kingsley, have you made enough trouble? Who is Chin Shiza?" Chibo Sterling's little eyebrows are twisted. "I am the seventh baby West baby." The servants were stunned again. Is the little master being coquettish? What an awkward way to be coquettish. Okay, well, if the young master likes it, then we will call the young master Shi Bao Bao in the future, lest the little young master be messing around and anger the ninth master. Uncle Jong hurriedly came over and stopped him. "Zabaobao, don't lose your temper again. Apologize to Juyi, and then Uncle Jong will take you down to eat delicious food." "Okay, did you recognize the wrong person?" Chibo Sterling vaguely realized something, scratched his head with his little short hand and said, I am really not that Chin Shiza. My name is Chibo Sterling. The English name is Nas. I have been living in China with my beautiful mommy, and I just came here in a big recently. As soon as these words came out, everyone fell silent. A few maids who had just come to Shin-chan Mansion to work couldn't help but wonder if the little master thought that his mother was crazy and said such ridiculous things. The old employees who had been in Shin-chan Mansion for a long time had heavy faces, and secretly used their spare eyes to visit Qin Juye's face. The little young master really got sick, just like the former ninth master. The haze on Qin Yuqing's face was even thicker. His dark eyes were like a bottomless cold pool. No one knew what he was thinking, they could only feel the chill emanating from these eyes. Uncle Jong ordered in a cold voice and took him down. Uncle Jong hurriedly hugged Chibo Sterling down. Chibo Sterling wanted to say something more, but Uncle Jong covered his mouth, not daring to let him go to the ninth master's scales. Lucas Miller struggled for a long time, but still mustered up the courage to ask the ninth master. Do you want to ask Miss Hua to come over and show the little master? Little master, this is obviously a pre-symptom of schizophrenia, and they have been looking for Dr. Jocelyn from Angua recently. The little young master must have heard the conversation between him and the ninth master by chance. So he split a little boy named Chibo Sterling from South Korea, and the little master has always missed his mother, so the little boy he split off has lived with his mother since he was a child. The little young master is really miserable. I think that my mother thinks of schizophrenia, so I have to quickly ask Miss Hua to come over and show the little young master, otherwise it will be bad if it develops like the ninth master in the future. Lin Zixiao looked at the ninth master with anticipation, but in the end, what she was waiting for was a cold refusal. No, Alexander Kingsley didn't want to treat the little one, and although the needles could relieve his migraine, he had a vague sense that he seemed to have forgotten something important. He became more and more irritable, and his feelings became more and more indifferent. Everyone said that he was ruthless and decisive, but only he knew that he was gradually losing the ability to love someone. He didn't want his own son to go through it again. Inform Dr. Simon Hua that the plan is ahead of schedule, and that he must find Jocelyn as soon as possible. Only Jocelyn can end the curse of their family, and the tragedy must end in his generation. Alexander Kingsley's eyes darkened a little. Victoria Sterling, you better not let me down. Chapter 15. The new clues are different from the chickens and dogs in Shin-chan Mansion, and the mother and son are filial to the mother and son in Jiangyun district. And the atmosphere is just right. 7. The baby is amazing, and the pinyin is all right. Joshman was pleasantly surprised. Worthy of being my son, it's amazing. Chibo Sterling grew up living abroad, and although he can speak Chinese, he can't distinguish between the pinyin alphabet and the English alphabet, and he always confuses the two. In order to help her son adapt to the kindergarten in China, before returning to China, Victoria Sterling began to tutor her son pinyin every night. 7. Baby, you are so good, you deserve to be rewarded with ice cream by your mother. Victoria Sterling hugged her son and kissed him fiercely on his pink little face. Chin Shiza is a little embarrassed. These are very simple pinyin. Isn't it normal to be right? In the past, when I was in Shin-chan Mansion, even if it was lifted, adults couldn't solve it. Aseti's father was also very indifferent and never praised him. Jongbo said that it was because his father was a more powerful genius, and he would not take this level of Olympiad questions in his eyes at all. Chin Shiza didn't say anything on the surface, but behind the scenes, he worked harder and competed with his father secretly, wanting to get his father's approval. It was so difficult for his father to recognize, and he couldn't get his father's praise even if he tried his best. But with only a few pinyin in front of his mother, he became the best genius. Chin Shiza's heart was warm. He stretched out his little hand to wrap his arms around Victoria Sterling's neck, and was shy and coquettish. Mom, you are so good. Spoiled can only eat one ice cream. Xiao slowed down the tip of his son's little nose, and eat with his mother. Otherwise his stomach will hurt. She was a little speechless. Her mother was good, she always treated her as a child. Ice cream is a non-nutritious thing that only imps like. However, if his mother likes it, He can also reluctantly accompany his mother to eat a little. After eating the ice cream, Victoria Sterling coaxed the little one to sleep. When the little one was fully asleep, he crept out of the bedroom and went to the study. After arriving at the study, Victoria Sterling turned on her computer and logged into one of Angwa's communication apps. As soon as he boarded up, someone sent him a video invitation. Victoria Sterling accepted the invitation, and a cold and handsome face popped out of the window. He called, especially a mercenary from abroad, who had a lifelong friendship with Victoria Sterling. Victoria Sterling, I trust him a lot. WN, I've got some clues about your mother. The Yuran-Hua family seems to have something to do with your mother's disappearance. Victoria Sterling's expression changed. Do you mean that the Hua family is helping Chi Muyu kidnap my mother? It's hard to make a conclusion now, since Ren has not arrived. I can only say that it is very likely that the Hua family was involved in the kidnapping of your mother. The Hua family is a medical family, but many of the medicines produced by your Lin pharmaceutical factory back then were more effective than the Hua family. Or the family probably had a grudge against your mother for a long time, and I have investigated. After your mother disappeared, the Hua family's drug research and development level has advanced by leaps and bounds. And they claim that these drugs are genius girls or because they have improved, but I think they are likely to have imprisoned your mother in a hidden place to take medicine for them. The special drugs produced by the Hua family pharmaceutical factory over the years were not improved by the cause at all, but by your mother. Yu Ren is a mercenary. He has been mixed in all kinds of dirty and muddy swamps since he was a child, and he has his own set of investigation methods. And generally the information he finds will not go wrong. Victoria Sterling squinted her eyes with a cold light. No wonder maybe the pharmaceutical industry has developed so well in recent years. It turned out to be sucking his mother's blood. Ryan Cooper, send me all the information you find. Victoria Sterling muttered, one more little thing for me. Good, soon. Ryan Cooper sent all the information he had found to Victoria Sterling. Victoria Sterling researched all night and then called William Wu early the next morning. After thinking about it for a night, I decided to accept your invitation to take up a post at St. Peter's Hospital, Joshman said with a smile that since his mother's disappearance was related to the Hua family, it was necessary for him to break into the Hua family's Longtan tiger's den in person, and he wanted to see what these little people hiding in the gutter could do to him. Chapter 16. The first vest is off. Early in the morning, Victoria Sterling came to work at St. Peter's Hospital. He's still in the internship period, and he doesn't have too much work, just studying with the attending doctors, and the life is not heavy, but it's quite torturous, after all. Victoria Sterling's medical skills can be described as the pinnacle, so he sees the attending doctors of St. Peter's Hospital to treat diseases. Just like the country's top scientists watch college students do experiments, which are all mistakes, but they can't be corrected, they have to pretend to be new, and put on a look of worship, which is too testing of acting skills all morning acting. Victoria Sterling was very tired, so she secretly found an unmanned ward in the afternoon and slipped in to play games, but she was addicted to the game, and suddenly a nurse rushed in. You are a brain department, right? That's right. Victoria Sterling replied casually, not even lifting her eyelids. Unexpectedly, the nurse grabbed him and dragged him out without saying anything. Great, come with me. A patient with advanced brain cancer suddenly developed and needed immediate surgery. Victoria Sterling frowned. I'm just an intern. My life is at stake. Don't intern or not. Nurse's face is full of anxiety. There are few brain doctors in our hospital. And a few brain doctors were sent to attend a conference abroad a few days ago, and now there are only 2 brain doctors left in the hospital, and those 2 are still busy with other surgeries, so you have to. There is no one else but you. Victoria Sterling's long rain-like eyelashes drooped, hiding the chill from her eyes. It's too coincidental. He didn't come to do anything. He had a brain cancer patient as soon as he came, and as a world-class hospital, St. Peter's didn't have a brain doctor to operate on the patient. This kind of nonsense deceives fools, and fools don't believe it. Victoria Sterling guessed almost immediately that this must have been a game set up for him by Alexander Kingsley and the Hua family, in order to force him to save people. and then make him admit that he was the mysterious Dr. Jocelyn. Victoria Sterling wanted to laugh a little. Was the Chin family an ancestral dog who looked down on people? Why did they think he would fall for such an inferior trick? Nurse forcibly led Victoria Sterling to the door of the operating room and helped him put on a surgical gown. Come on in. The patient needs you. There are cameras in the hallways and in the operating room. Victoria Sterling looked up at the camera closest to her, her eyes cold with the chill of winter, and her cold and clear gaze seemed to see through the camera to the person on the other end of the camera. In his office at the other end of the hallway, Alexander Kingsley sat in front of the surveillance, staring at Victoria Sterling through a screen. He really saw through it. But what if he saw it through? He still won this game. Victoria Sterling stood still at the door of the operating room, and he wanted to see what Alexander Kingsley could do to force her to save if he insisted on not entering. "Doctor, how is my husband?" A woman suddenly pounced, grabbed Victoria Sterling's arm, cried and pleaded, "Please, save my husband, please. My daughter has just reached the full moon, and she can't live without her father." With that, he knelt down for Victoria Sterling. The woman had messy hair, a sleek face, and a crumpled baby in her arms. He cried so much that the baby cried incessantly. This kind of pain and despair of someone who is about to lose a loved one cannot be played. He really is the patient's wife. Victoria Sterling was suddenly furious, and he jerked his head up and glanced at the monitor fiercely. It's so despicable that he actually threatens him with human life. Time ticks, and with each second that passes, the patient is one less likely to be cured. Victoria Sterling doesn't move, and neither does Alexander Kingsley. It's a game between the two of them, and it's a bet on who can't hold back and save someone. Victoria Sterling is a doctor who has long been at the pinnacle of her medical skills. He only glanced at the situation in the operating room and roughly deduced that as long as the operation was performed within 15 minutes, the patient's life would not be in danger. Therefore, he did not move. Not cold-blooded and ruthless, but wanted to see if Alexander Kingsley was really ruthless enough to use his life to play with him. Time 1 minute and 1 second passed. The death line was coming soon. The man's heart was really cold. There was chaos in the operating room. The patient was on the line of life and death, but there was still no one to operate on him. His wife had cried until she fainted. The child was also crying. Victoria Sterling's face was hard to see. Alexander Kingsley, garlic, you ruthless. He jerked around and walked into the operating room, where the nurse followed him to help him with a scalpel. The hemostat patient was in shock. The heart was zeroed. The pacemaker was fast. Most of the tumor had been removed. The laser knife was changed to remove the residual tumor, and after a fierce rescue, the operation was over, the tumor was removed, and the patient's life was saved. And all this, Alexander Kingsley and Dr. Simon Hua can see clearly through surveillance. Even the whole process of Victoria Sterling's surgery was filmed by the nurse on the side with a precision camera, which was too shocking. Dr. Simon Hua was shocked that the cancer cells were so high and so close to the blood vessels that even I was not sure to remove them. So in this case, we would wait for the cancer cells to grow and grow before cutting them. But he went straight to the knife, and perfectly avoided all the blood vessels. Needless to say, this exquisite knife technique, he is definitely Dr. Jocelyn. Alexander Kingsley hooked his lips, and he guessed correctly. He was indeed Jocelyn. Let's go. Alexander Kingsley jerked off his tie and was unruly. Let's go and meet this world-famous doctor. The door to the operating room was pushed open, and Victoria Sterling had just stepped out when she bumped into Alexander Kingsley, who was walking towards him. Dr. Jocelyn. The man twisted him. With a cold smile in his black eyes, it is really difficult to ask you to see a doctor. Chapter 17. Let's start with 2 billion. Victoria Sterling is angry. He is a doctor. And he is most disgusted with the act of despising life in his life. But Alexander Kingsley actually gambled with other people's lives in order to pick his vest, which is unforgivable. Victoria Sterling looked at Alexander Kingsley coldly, her dark eyes oozing with a chill. Just because I know the brain. You think I'm Dr. Jocelyn. This is also too arbitrary. To be honest, Mr. Chin, I was disappointed in you. I thought you would be smarter. Hearing this, Dr. Simon Hua's eyes widened. This woman actually damaged Alexander Kingsley. Not smart enough. What a big boldness. Does he know who he is losing? It was a once-in-a-lifetime genius of Alexander Kingsley, who had crushed his peers in IQ since he was a child, and showed amazing mathematical ability at the age of 3. When others think of Olympiad questions that a bald person can't do, he knows the answer at a glance. At the age of 5, he taught himself chemistry and made extremely lethal bombs using only kitchen utensils. He once blew up the villa that old man Shin had just bought into ashes because of his unhappiness, learned programming at the age of 7, and became the youngest genius hacker in history. Dr. Simon Hoare even thought that Alexander Kingsley would later be schizophrenic because he was too smart for a personality to control such a smart brain. So he had to split several more personalities to divide the burden equally. Such a prodigy. Some people dare to think that he is not smart enough. Dr. Simon Hoare really wanted to take a loudspeaker and yell at Victoria Sterling's ear all the amazing things Alexander Kingsley had done since he was a child, so that he would know how wrong he was. Of course not, just because you know the brain case. Compared to Dr. Simon Hoare's jaw-dropping, Alexander Kingsley seemed much calmer. He calmly analyzed. A week ago I interrogated you and Leo Carter in Shin-chan Mansion. The interrogation lasted less than half an hour, during which Leo Carter secretly looked at you a total of 30 times. If you don't speak, he won't dare to talk. After you speak, he will follow you down. It is clear that you are his master, and he is acting on your eyes. Since then, I have been suspicious of you, so I found someone to investigate you. Then I found something very interesting. Alexander Kingsley stared at Victoria Sterling. A smile gradually appeared in the dark eyes. I found that since 3 years ago, every time the news reports on which country Dr. Jocelyn is saving lives, you will also appear in that country accordingly, and the time is completely consistent. For example, there was a plague in Thailand in July last year. Dr. Jocelyn went to support, and you happened to travel to the giant country in July, and the plague was raging at that time. Who would dare to travel anywhere in normal people? Add to that the amazing medical skills you have shown today, and there is no doubt that you are Jocelyn. The man's analysis is logical and well organized, with few loopholes. Victoria Sterling was slightly surprised. He thought that Alexander Kingsley, like Marcus Sterling, was a fool with no one in his eyes, but he didn't expect that he was quite smart, worthy of being the head of the Chin family, and he really had 2 brushes. Even if I were Jocelyn, so what? Victoria Sterling raised her eyebrows, and her momentum was not lost to Alexander Kingsley. Everyone in the world knows that Jocelyn doesn't rely on the Chin family. I don't rely on you. What can you do to me? Alexander Kingsley sneered. Of course I have a way to make you follow. I know that 3 years ago, you were conspired by your ex-husband Marcus Sterling and your half-sister Vanessa Sterling and lost all your family property. As long as you make an exception to the Chin family once, I can help you take back everything you lost. In addition, you can also take revenge on Chin Juyu and Vanessa Sterling at will, peel the skin and cramp to light the sky lantern, throw the zongza at will. I will carry it if something happens. This condition is very tempting. I am afraid that anyone will agree without hesitation, but it is a pity that he promised these things. Victoria Sterling could have done it easily. If it weren't for his mother's presence in Marcus Sterling and Vanessa Sterling's hands, he would have torn these 2 scum alive. It's better to do this kind of thing like revenge yourself. Joshman yawned lazily. I hate people who don't respect life the most in my life, and you just happen to do what I hate the most, which makes me even more disgusted with the Chin family. So you want me to follow the Chin family? He gave Alexander Kingsley a middle finger. Next life. With that, Victoria Sterling turned and walked away. Alexander Kingsley's face was extremely pale. Is Chin Shao going to stop him? Lucas Miller asked in a low voice. No. Alexander Kingsley's face was gloomy, and his voice was mixed with ice. He didn't want to cling, and it was useless to stop him. Lucas Miller was obviously unwilling, but we managed to find Jocelyn, so was that okay? The little young master has already had a problem with his spirit. How can he just forget it? According to what he saw, did that Jocelyn want to kidnap him directly, coerce and lure, and use all kinds of means to force him to the end? Of course, It won't be left at that. Alexander Kingsley's eyes were cold. Victoria Sterling has not returned to China for 3 years, and this sudden return must have a purpose. There is only an unsuitable price in this world. And there is no business that cannot be negotiated. As long as you find out what the purpose of his return is, you can make him compromise. Lucas Miller's eyes lit up, worthy of being the ninth master. If someone else was put on the face of such a little girl as Victoria Sterling, he would definitely be so angry that he lost his mind. But the ninth master would not. He always maintained a terrible insight, calm and wise to the point that the heavens and the earth were shattered, and he could still stand still. The subordinates went to investigate the reason for Victoria Sterling's return. Ling Zixia retreated, and Alexander Kingsley was about to leave, when Dr. Simon Hua suddenly stopped him. Ninth brother, Dr. Simon Hua hesitated and asked, if Victoria Sterling hadn't made a move today, would you really plan to let that brain cancer patient die in vain? Victoria Sterling's words before leaving touched Dr. Simon Hua. After all, the Hua family is a medical family, and their ancestors have been doctors for 3 generations. Dr. Simon Hua also studied medicine, and he still has the ethics of a doctor in his bones, but since he was a child, he was used to following Alexander Kingsley's orders, so when Alexander Kingsley asked him to use it, when patient tested Victoria Sterling, he didn't hesitate to say yes. It wasn't until Victoria Sterling said a disrespectful sentence before leaving that he suddenly realized that the brain cancer patient was very likely to die in this test, in case Victoria Sterling really didn't understand the brain case, just in case Victoria Sterling is determined not to save people. And this living life will disappear completely. Dr. Simon Hua felt very uncomfortable, although he had long known that Alexander Kingsley was cruel and cold-blooded, and could be tested with human life, which was too much. Alexander Kingsley turned his head, his dark eyes were cold, and he was not alarmed. And I never did anything that I was not sure of. He had already investigated Victoria Sterling in advance, and basically determined that he was Jocelyn before arranging this test. Jocelyn has been traveling all over the world, saving lives and helping the wounded. How can such a good person not save him? He never did anything he wasn't sure about, and he arranged this test because he knew that Jocelyn would save people, in the absence of a second scenario. Victoria Sterling returned home with a rage. The hateful Alexander Kingsley actually dared to calculate him. Did he really treat him as a powerless little girl? Oh, naive, if you dare to calculate him. Be prepared to bear his wrath. Victoria Sterling turned on the computer, crackled and typed, ready to go to He Qin Yuqing's personal account. If you calculate him like this, why do you have to compensate him for some mental damages? It's not too much to find him a few $100 million, right? Alexander Kingsley's account is encrypted, making it difficult for ordinary hackers to crack down. But who is Victoria Sterling? He is a genius hacker, and at the age of 11, he was able to use a computer to hack into the school network and steal the test answers stored by teachers in the computer, which he did not care about at all. Victoria Sterling was as fierce as a tiger, and quickly cracked the encryption, and the following is a happy transfer. Under the operation of Victoria Sterling, Alexander Kingsley's account began to transfer money to Victoria Sterling's bank card at a rate of 100 million per minute, and he has earned 500 million in just 5 minutes. Victoria Sterling sat in front of her computer and collected her money. On the other side, Alexander Kingsley received a call from his financial assistant. Oh no, Ninth Master, your account has been hacked. The financial assistant is sweating profusely. The hacker has cracked your encryption and is stealing your money, which has already stolen almost 1 billion. Well, Alexander Kingsley squinted. Not only was he not angry, but there was a little smile in his dark eyes. He actually broke the encryption he set up himself. This hacker has some skills. I will deal with this matter. You don't have to worry about it. Alexander Kingsley hung up the phone and turned on his computer. As the financial assistant said, the money in his account is flying, and he has lost more than 1 billion yuan. However, Alexander Kingsley did not rush to stop the hacker from proceeding to his money, but began to use the computer to track down the location of the hacker. He wanted to see who had the audacity to go before Alexander Kingsley. Chapter 18 Master Moves. Victoria Sterling's account is rising rapidly at a rate of 100 million per minute, and the money has risen to 20 billion in a short time. Refreshing. Victoria Sterling was about to give it his breath when a huge exclamation point popped up on the computer page, and the alarm bell began to ring unscrupulously. Someone is tracking his location. And they're about to break through his firewall and track him down. Victoria Sterling was full of surprise. He didn't expect that the Chin family still had such talents. They could actually track his location and were about to break through his firewall. Victoria Sterling hurriedly sat down in front of the computer and crackled on the keyboard, trying to rebuild the firewall and prevent the person from locating him through the network. Alexander Kingsley also tapped on the keyboard quickly, attacking Victoria Sterling's firewall with quick precision, and the two battled each other across the screen. Victoria Sterling's skills weren't worse than Alexander Kingsley's, but he discovered it too late and ultimately couldn't stop Alexander Kingsley from revealing his location. Oh no. Joe slammed the computer shut. Shock was written on the delicate little face, and his position was exposed. I didn't expect Alexander Kingsley to have such a powerful hacker around him, and he actually broke through his firewall and traced his location. No one in the world has been able to overcome the firewall he has set up, except for the Eternal Night. The thought of the Eternal Night made Victoria Sterling's heart ache. In fact, when she was fighting with the hacker master of the Chin family just now, Victoria Sterling had a vague illusion of fighting with Eternal Night. Only Eternal Night could keep up with his speed, allowing him to experience the tension and excitement that he had never experienced before. It's a pity that his Eternal Night has completely disappeared, and after the car accident, only Chin Juyu survived. In the Shin-chan mansion, Alexander Kingsley successfully tracked down the location of the thief, Jiangyun district. The man lifted his eyelids and looked at the position in contemplation. Victoria Sterling seems to live in Jiangyun district, right? Could it be that Chin Yucheng suddenly realized something? Without the slightest hesitation, he rolled over and got out of bed and strode out. Ninth Master, it's so late. Where are you going in such a hurry? The butler, who was about to close the door, asked, but only Alexander Kingsley answered him. Alexander Kingsley drove the sports car as an airplane, racing all the way, half an hour's journey, and 10 minutes. If there were other people in the car would have been parked for a second and it would have been a fuss. Alexander Kingsley followed the tracing address to Victoria Sterling's home, and Victoria Sterling was waiting for him. The second he saw Victoria Sterling, Alexander Kingsley's heart sank, and sure enough, it was him. No wonder he wasn't interested in his offer at all. He himself was perfectly capable of hacking into Marcus Sterling's account and destitute him. But if he can do it, why not do it? Does he still have any affection for Marcus Sterling? After realizing this, I don't know why, Alexander Kingsley suddenly felt very uncomfortable in his heart. Chin Du, and the kind of phoenix man who eats soft rice, what is so good about him worthy of being so unforgettable? Unexpectedly, Miss Chow is not only a world-famous doctor, but also a top hacker. Alexander Kingsley's dark eyes are full of danger and oppression. How many surprises do you have that I don't know? Victoria Sterling's red eyes are raised, seductive and charming. The Ninth Master came over in the middle of the night just to ask me this. He is demonic to the bones, and his beauty is amazing. Rao is a person like Alexander Kingsley, who is not close to women, and his frozen heart also throbs for a moment. Alexander Kingsley squinted. This woman was so dangerous, however. The more dangerous something is, the more attractive it is, like a rose thorn in a thorn. The sharper it is, the more eye-catching. No, I'm here to deliver this to Miss Joe. Alexander Kingsley took out a USB flash drive. His thin lips were raised, and his smile was slanted. Here is all the evidence that you stole 2 billion yuan from my account tonight. Once I hand her over to the police, Miss Chow will not be able to get out of prison even if she has great ability. 20000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000 words may sound polite, but they are in fact unrelenting threats. He was threatening him to be obedient or he would wait to go to jail. However, instead of showing any fear, Victoria Sterling returned Shin-chan with a charming smile. He also took out a USB flash drive and smiled with anticipation. "Mr. Chan, do you know what this is? This is the time when you drove to find me, hacked into your computer, and stole all the confidential documents of your Chan clan's enterprise. What do you say will happen if I sell this document to your nemesis, Lord Warchill?" Alexander Kingsley's face instantly turned cold. He didn't expect Victoria Sterling to have such a hand. He actually took advantage of his unpreparedness, hacked into his computer, stole the confidential documents of Chan's enterprise, and then threatened him in turn. "This little girl is too cunning." Alexander Kingsley looked at Victoria Sterling with a look of shock and appreciation. To be honest, he hadn't grown up to be in anyone's hands. Victoria Sterling gets the first. "Mr. Chan, do you want to make a deal with me?" The little girl shook the USB flash drive in her hand and smiled badly. "If you don't report me, I won't betray you. We will all destroy the USB flash drive in our hands, as if tonight's incident didn't happen at all." This proposal seems to be very fair, but in fact, Alexander Kingsley also lost 20 billion, and the little girl obviously has no intention of paying him back. In fact, Alexander Kingsley is not distressed about losing these. Give this girl. He has to get something back. He is a businessman. And he never makes a loss-making business. The familiar scent of gardenias seemed to have a demagogic effect in the air. Alexander Kingsley slowly approached the scent, and then kissed Victoria Sterling on the lips, and when he came back to his senses, he was stunned. He obviously has a very serious understanding of women. Usually as long as a woman is close to him, he will feel that it is not, and simple skin contact will make him feel sick to his stomach. But why is there no discomfort at all when he is close to George Mann? Even hugging her and kissing him will not be nauseous, and even feel very comfortable, thinking that he is very fragrant and sweet, to claim more. Alexander Kingsley pressed Victoria Sterling's head with his backhand and demanded as much as he could. Victoria Sterling was stunned. He didn't expect Alexander Kingsley to suddenly kiss him. What was wrong with this person? Why did he suddenly kiss him while talking? Victoria Sterling, a dead pervert, finally recovered from her shock and pushed Alexander Kingsley away. "What are you doing?" A flush appeared on his fair face, ashamed and angry, but also very cute. Alexander Kingsley licked his thin lips and smiled obliquely. 2 billion, Miss Buchow is stable. But she doesn't lose money. With that, the man turned to leave. Josh Mann was a little embarrassed and a little happy, because he had just stolen Alexander Kingsley's USB stick while he was kissing him. Now Alexander Kingsley has no evidence of his crime in his hands, but he has confidential documents of Chan's business in his hands. He won the game beautifully, and Victoria Sterling was secretly happy, and when she fumbled in her pocket, she suddenly found that his USB stick was gone. Wait. Did Alexander Kingsley just take his USB flash drive? Outside the baby villa, Alexander Kingsley sat in his black Maybach sports car, looking at the USB flash drive in his hand. The corners of his lips unconsciously rose. This Dr. Joe was more interesting than he imagined, and he suddenly began to look forward to fighting him next time. At this time, the mobile phone rang suddenly. Alexander Kingsley picked it up and looked at it, his face instantly gloomy, and the caller ID was written with 2 big words on his father. Although he didn't want to answer the call, Alexander Kingsley finally pressed the answer button. Now is not the time to fall out with this man. I heard that Azawa also has a precursor to schizophrenia. The middle-aged man's deep voice came from the other end of the phone, with a sense of solemnity. I have already informed him, or because of this, I will let him go to acupuncture for Azawa tomorrow, and the Chin family cannot produce a third madman. Chapter 19999 Blue Rose. Hearing the word madman, Alexander Kingsley's face was instantly covered with ice, and his tone was several degrees colder. Pay attention to your wording. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Although Arthur Kingsley is Alexander Kingsley's father and the person behind the Chin family, Alexander Kingsley has been in charge in recent years. The power expanded rapidly. When outsiders talk about the Chin family, they only know that the new Emperor Qin Juye, who is decisive in killing, does not know that the Emperor Qin is wronged behind the scenes. The relationship between father and son is not good, and every time they meet, they are fought at, not like father and son, but like enemies. Tomorrow at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I will personally bring Dr. Evelyn Hua over. Arthur Kingsley ignored Alexander Kingsley's anger and ordered in the same cold tone, "You take a good look at Azawa, don't let him run away. Azawa has never run around. He has always been well-behaved, calm, quiet, and has an indifferent temperament that is completely inconsistent with his age." But Arthur Kingsley's tone is as if Azawa is a crazy person who can only run around, and he must be watched. "Azawa is my son, whether he needs to see a doctor or not. I have the final say, it's not your turn to worry about it," Alexander Kingsley said coldly. "Too much control is also a disease. You better let Dr. Evelyn Hua treat you first." With that, Alexander Kingsley hung up the phone. They can call him a madman and call him a cruel and bloodthirsty demon, but not his son. After hanging up Arthur Kingsley's phone, Alexander Kingsley called Ling Zixiao again and ordered in a cold voice, "Arthur Kingsley's dog has mixed into Shin-chan Mansion, and everyone in Shin-chan Mansion must be found out of the dog that eats inside and out. Azawa has recently been confined by Qin Yuqing and has never left Shin-chan Mansion at all. So except for the people in Shin-chan Mansion, no one knows that Azawa's temperament has changed drastically." Arthur Kingsley suddenly got the news that someone from Shin-chan Fu must have sent him a message. Alexander Kingsley's eyes lit up with coldness. He couldn't tolerate sand in his eyes. And he wouldn't show mercy to traitors who ate inside and out. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. The next morning, Victoria Sterling was in the kitchen cooking breakfast for her son. He makes ham sandwiches, thin slices of bread browned, fried eggs and hams, coated with his special sauce and topped with tomatoes and greens. The simple sandwich is made by his hand, and it looks full of color, flavor, and taste, which makes people appetizing. Even Qin Shiza, a person who doesn't like to eat sandwiches, also held the sandwich in his small hand and gnawed it fragrantly. "Mom's cooking is delicious," Qin Shiza thought happily in his heart. "And even the nasty tomatoes became delicious. Let's eat some breakfast first, and when I come back in the evening, Mommy will make you something to eat." Victoria Sterling sighed as she helped the little one pack up. "I'm so sorry, 7, baby. Mommy hasn't found a satisfactory nanny for the time being. And your Uncle Leo Carter suddenly can't be contacted, so I can only aggrieve you to stay in the nursery these days." The Cloud District is regarded as the top rich area in Dragon City, and there is a special nursery in the community. Before buying a house, Victoria Sterling went to inspect it herself. The environment of this nursery is not bad, clean and tidy. There are many toys, and the teachers with children are also professional kindergarten teachers, so there are basically no shortcomings. But Qin Shiza doesn't like the nursery. It is full of little children who don't know anything, and the teachers always force him to do some mentally retarded games. He felt that he was not going to the nursery to be taken care of at all, but to help the teacher take care of the little children. He would rather do math Olympiads at home than go to nursery. Qin Shiza put down the 3 names, turned his head to look at Victoria Sterling, and asked with beautiful peach blossom eyes, "What about Dad? Mom has to go to work and doesn't have time to take care of him, so you can contact Dad, although Dad generally doesn't have time to take care of him." Uncle Zhong, the housekeeper, Wang Ma, the nanny, and countless servants and bodyguards in Shin-chan Mansion, they could all come and take care of him, and he didn't have to raise the children at all. When she heard the word Dad, the smile on Victoria Sterling's face instantly froze. The day finally came, and his precious son began to wonder who his father was. In fact, a genius such as Victoria Sterling wants to find out who the child's father is, but he doesn't want to check, after all. His first night was sold for 1 million by Vanessa Sterling. He didn't want to know at all who the lewd man who bought him on the first night, and he didn't want to have any entanglement with the other party. The 7th baby is his own, and he has nothing to do with the dogman, and there is no silence. After a long time, Victoria Sterling half squatted down, touched her son's soft black hair and said seriously, 7, baby, you are actually different from other babies, you don't have a father. Your mother spent a mountain of gold coins to buy it from the baby planet. Although you don't have a father, you are worth a whole mountain of gold coins, and other children are not worth as much as you are the most expensive baby on the baby planet. Joshman didn't want his son to know about dirty and shady things, so he made up a fairy tale to coax him. You must not tell anyone about this. If they know that you are worth so many gold coins, they will steal you from mommy and sell you for gold coins. She was stunned. The eyes of the bright peach blossom were full of shock. Isn't this a copy of the lie you picked up in the trash can? Aren't all this kind of lies used by divorced single mothers to deceive their children? Thinking of this, Xavier Kingsley's little face instantly turned pale. Could it be that his parents are divorced? No wonder he hasn't seen his mother since he was born, and his father doesn't allow anyone in Shin-chan Mansion to mention his mother. No wonder his mother was sneaky when she came to Shin-chan Mansion that night. And there were a bunch of bodyguards chasing him behind him. The more she thought about it, the more sure he was that his parents were divorced, and she was very sad. Although he couldn't fully understand what divorce meant at his age, but he probably knew that between his father and mother, he could only choose one. The little guy lowered his long eyelashes, which were as thick as crow feathers, but he couldn't hide the loss on his face, seeing her son like this. Victoria Sterling was distressed. He reached out and hugged his son into his arms and comforted him softly. Baby, this is nothing to be sad about. Dad's kind of thing is completely useless. His mother can do all the things he can do, and his mother can do all the things he can't do. So, what else do we want him to do? He was completely useless, and Shiza still couldn't be happy. Although his father is not as gentle as his mother, he will not praise him, he will not play with him, and he has never cooked for him. But that is also his father. He finally got his mother. Is he going to lose his father again in the blink of an eye? No, he doesn't want this. He wants to save the marriage of his father and mother, and let his father and mother get back together, so that he can have a mother and a father. Are you still unhappy? Otherwise, would it be okay for mom to take a day off to accompany you to the playground, seeing that the child is still sullen? Joshman starts to rack his brains to amuse the child. We go play with your favorite spaceship, and then buy you your favorite marshmallow. No, Mom. Shiza looked up and smiled at Victoria Sterling. I want to go to the nursery. Only by going to the nursery can he implement his plan and save his parents' marriage. Victoria Sterling gave her son a suspicious look, wondering if the little guy used to hate going to nursery the most. Why do you want to go again today? He repeatedly confirmed that she insisted on going to the nursery, but Victoria Sterling had no choice but to send him over. As everyone knows, as soon as he arrived at the nursery, Shiza used the spare mobile phone left by Victoria Sterling to secretly call Jiang Shin-cheng, a special florist for Shin-chan Mansion. Hello, Uncle Liu, I'm Xavier Kingsley, son of Alexander Kingsley. My father liked the blue roses you cultivated in the backyard of Shin-chan Mansion before, so I wanted to order another 999 for my mother. My mother's address is Villa No. 7 in Jiangyun District. Please send it over at 7 o'clock tonight. Thank you very much. There are all kinds of precious flowers and plants planted in Shin-chan Mansion, all of which are cultivated by Jiang Shin-cheng, and it takes a lot of effort to cultivate precious flowers and plants, so for a long time, Jiang Shin-cheng lived in Shin-chan Mansion. Therefore, he was very familiar with Little Master Qin's voice, and he recognized it as soon as he heard it. However, the words of the little young master shocked him very much. Did the mysterious woman whose mother gave birth to the little young master finally appear, and the ninth master actually ordered 999 blue roses to give to him, and he didn't let people mention it before, which made everyone think that the ninth master hated the young grandmother. As a result, as soon as the young grandmother came back, she immediately spent a lot of money and ordered 999 roses for the young grandmother. It is not certain that it is ordinary, and it is the most precious blue rose that is not prescribed. Because of the rare color of blue roses, the price is dozens of times that of red roses. and the blue roses it cultivates are the most precious varieties of blue roses. The color is much darker than other blue roses, and the price of a single one is 10,000 yuan. What kind of earth-shattering gossip is this? He shouldn't be the first to know. Jiang Shin-cheng was excited, and as soon as he hung up the phone, he couldn't wait to shout at the apprentice, Xiao Wu, hurry up and move out all the blue roses in the inventory, wrap them in the best gift box, and I will personally send them to the young grandmother tonight. Who is the biological mother of the young Master Qin has always been a mystery, and the people of the whole country are guessing, and today there is a chance to uncover the mystery and meet the legendary young grandmother. Of course Jiang Shin-cheng can't miss it. Chapter 20. After sending his son to the nursery during the slap in the face, Joshman drives to St. Peter's Hospital. Although he was calculated by Alexander Kingsley yesterday, which made him very unhappy, he also cheated Alexander Kingsley 20 billion two people at night. And you and I can be regarded as a tie. Victoria Sterling decides not to worry too much about the dogman for a while and concentrates on finding her mother's whereabouts. After all, he had not come to work at St. Peter's Hospital to compete with Alexander Kingsley, but to investigate his mother's whereabouts. I have heard that Miss Yin has developed a special drug for the treatment of early-stage cancer, but this special drug is not available in the market, and only Dr. Evelyn Hua's patients can buy it. During the lunch break, Victoria Sterling pretended to casually chat with other interns. Is this true? Most of the intern doctors are college students who have just graduated from medical school, and they have not been exposed to society, so they are relatively simple and have a loose mouth, which is most suitable for finding out news. Although they won't know the information that is too confidential, this kind of news is absolutely accurate. Sure enough, as soon as Joshman's words fell, a male intern who wanted to show himself in front of him couldn't wait to say, "That's right, there is indeed this medicine, but not only Miss Hua's patients can buy it, other patients can also buy it. But you have to have a channel." Victoria Sterling pretended to be silly and sweet, blinking her watery peach blossom eyes and asked curiously, "What channel?" The male intern doctor who was talked about by Victoria Sterling was named Liam Foster, and his family had a little money, and he was considered a rich second generation. In fact, his medical ability is not strong, and he can enter St. Peter's Hospital because of his parents' money. But even if the trust relationship comes in, Liam Foster's mind is not on seeing a doctor and saving people, but on the beautiful girl. On her first day at St. Peter's Hospital, she noticed Victoria Sterling. This new junior sister is so beautiful, delicate, and charming, she can see all the bones of people with one look. Concubine Liang was fascinated by Victoria Sterling, and went to Victoria Sterling every day for meals and breaks, and showed Victoria Sterling the keys to her newly bought BMW car from time to time, which was a pity Victoria Sterling doesn't eat this at all. After all, the most inferior car in Victoria Sterling's garage is dozens of times more expensive than Liam Foster's, and he can buy 2 Liam Foster cars with his watch. Liam Foster flaunting his wealth in front of him is simply self-inflicted. In the past few days, Liam Foster has used up all the pickling methods he has accumulated over the years. Victoria Sterling didn't even give him a look. Now it's rare for Qiao Shaman to take the initiative to chat with him. Of course he has to behave well, so concubine Liang put on a very knowledgeable appearance. If you want to buy a special drug, you must either have a family background, or you have to have a network, like the 4 major families, like the children of the powerful. It is very easy to get medicine. If you don't have such a strong background, you can have a relationship, and you can also buy a special drug from internal channels through a relationship. Victoria Sterling squinted at the enemy and there was a flash of cold light. This is very wrong. The Hua family dares to sell it to the big people with backgrounds in Dragon City, which means that this medicine must be effective. But since it is effective, why doesn't the Hua family sell it on the market? There are so many cancer patient drugs in the world, they will definitely make a lot of money as soon as they go on the market. And the Hua family is not brain dead, so why bother with money? They have to sell it secretly. There must be a problem here. Joshman heard the news he wanted, so he ignored Liang Fei and just packed up his things and left. Concubine Liang's eyes widened. This is leaving. Did he say something wrong? Why did you suddenly turn your face and not recognize people? But damn it, even if he turned his face, he turned it so beautifully, and his cold and glamorous appearance was even more charming. Unbeknownst to Victoria Sterling, she had inadvertently confused Liam Foster again. After leaving, he called his subordinates directly, and ordered in a cold voice, "Find a way to get me some special drugs for internal sales on the shelves. The medicine is called Ul's capsule, and hand it over to me before 10 o'clock tonight, so if there is a problem, he will personally analyze the ingredients in it to see what kind of cat is hidden in the medicine." In Jiangyun district, Society Radiance was gathering in a small garden for afternoon tea, and Vanessa Sterling passed by, her face instantly darker than coal. In the past, society ladies would call him for afternoon tea, but since she was slapped in the face by Victoria Sterling in public last time, she was excluded by the circle of noblewomen. It was not easy to squeeze into the circle of noblewomen, because Victoria Sterling was all ruined. The more Vanessa Sterling thought about it, the more angry she became. She was unwilling, so she stepped forward arrogantly. "Sisters, why don't you call me for afternoon tea?" Seeing Vanessa Sterling talking and laughing, Society Radiance instantly fell silent and the smile on her face disappeared. The ladies' circle is the most important about rules and face. And generally people who are not invited cannot lick their faces and appear rashly in the party. Vanessa Sterling suddenly barged in, and everyone was very disdainful. He was really an upstart, and he had no rules at all. "We thought you were busy transferring Chiao's old house to the new residence, and you might not have time for afternoon tea, so we didn't invite you." Jessica Campbell, who sat in the middle, pursed her lips and smiled. Jessica Campbell came from a wealthy family and was a pure socialite, so he looked down on nouveau riche like Vanessa Sterling the most. Vanessa Sterling's face turned blue in an instant. However, Jessica Campbell was born of nobility, although he is not a member of the 4 major families. The family is also very prestigious in Dragon City, and it is not something that Vanessa Sterling can afford to offend. So Vanessa Sterling put all the blame on Victoria Sterling and began to belittle Victoria Sterling without words. "Don't mention the new resident to me. I will be angry at the mention of him," Vanessa Sterling said angrily. "He didn't have any money at all. He took his boss's Supreme Black Card that day, and he was buying a house for his boss." Society ladies looked slightly surprised, but didn't immediately believe it. After all, they had been fooled by Vanessa Sterling once last time, and they didn't want to be fooled a second time. Seeing this, Vanessa Sterling hurriedly said, "What I said is true. You think he really has a Supreme Black Card? How come we haven't even heard of him?" Victoria Sterling, who has ever heard of that name? The 9th Master has a Supreme Black Card. Looking at the entire country, who doesn't know the 9th Master? But as for Victoria Sterling, no one knows that she is a destitute single mother, a liar with an oil bottle and a boss's card. Society ladies was a little moved. They really hadn't heard of the name Victoria Sterling. Was he really just a poor guy who helped the boss buy a house? Society Radius was suspicious when Victoria Sterling came back from work and was leading her son back. Vanessa Sterling was anxious to gain the approval of society ladies, so she pointed to Victoria Sterling and said, "Cow cow." Cow cow said, "My sisters don't believe me, so I'll call him over and let him tell you in person. Anyway, Victoria Sterling's mother is in his hands, and he can't worry about curing Victoria Sterling." So Vanessa Sterling shouted at Victoria Sterling. Victoria Sterling came over. Victoria Sterling lifted her eyelids and glanced at Vanessa Sterling. She didn't bother to pay attention to him. Why didn't she dare to come over? Vanessa Sterling raised her eyebrows, on her toes. Why didn't she dare come over? "Are you afraid that I will demolish you in front of the big guy? This villa is not yours at all. But you bought it for your boss. You are a poor bastard." Victoria Sterling Fooey thinks Vanessa Sterling is simply boring. The house is not his. What does it have to do with Xiao Xia? This man is simply sick. Joshman didn't want to be like a psychopath and turned to leave, but Vanessa Sterling was smug, pointing at Victoria Sterling's ostentatious wealth, and the wives shouted, "Well, I'm right. You see, he doesn't dare come and confront me, because what I said is true. He has no money at all. She is a single mother with no money and no power." And her father doesn't want him to give birth to children out of wedlock. Chapter 21. My dad is Alexander Kingsley. Victoria Sterling didn't bother to pay attention to Vanessa Sterling, and instead of relenting, Vanessa Sterling intensified her insults at Victoria Sterling. Those abusive words penetrated into Chin Shiz's ears word for word. Chin Shiz's white and tender little face instantly became gloomy. The angry appearance is very similar to his father, Alexander Kingsley, except that she is still young and slightly inferior in momentum, not as good as his father. Mom is perfect, the best mom in the world. It's not that no one wants Victoria Sterling to be generous, but Chin Shiza can't tolerate someone insulting his perfect mother. He struggled to break away from Victoria Sterling, took his hand, and then turned and walked towards Vanessa Sterling. He is not big, but his steps are very steady, his little face is calm, and he has a unique momentum. This lady, please stop spreading rumors, Chin Shi said coldly. My father did not abandon my mother at all. In fact, my father was abandoned by my mother. Although Chin Shiza doesn't know who abandoned whom, his parents divorced, it doesn't matter. The important thing now is to help mommy grow her face, so she can only sacrifice her father first. Vanessa Sterling didn't have any affection for Victoria Sterling's son, and he remembered the last time the bear kid called him ugly, so he was angry, and he didn't intend to be polite to this little brat. Oh, do you know who your dad is? I'm here to give your mom a head, Vanessa Sterling sneered, and said, what did your mother abandon your dad? Have you seen your dad? Chin Shiza frowned and glanced at Vanessa Sterling in confusion. Of course I have seen my father. He has been living with his father before his mother took him away. How could he not have seen his father? Is this woman crazy? How do you say something inexplicable? Ha ha, ha ha ha. Vanessa Sterling laughed. You're still pretending to be addicted. So tell me who your father is. Did you say that? Georgia Mao Di flashed a vicious light. He expected that Chin Shiza would not be able to speak. After all, how Victoria Sterling was pregnant with Chin Shiza was too clear. It was Victoria Sterling's bachelorette night party, and he secretly drugged Victoria Sterling's wine, stunned Victoria Sterling, and then with Marcus Sterling together, they sent Victoria Sterling to the private room of the hotel, and after the delivery, he sent a message to Boss Wang, asking Boss Wang to come and collect the goods. Boss Wang is the old man who spent 1 million yuan to buy Victoria Sterling on the first night. He is 50 years old, he has a big belly, he is still bald. And he has a large black mole on his face, not to mention how ugly he is. Every time she thinks that Victoria Sterling was robbed of her first night by such an old and ugly man, Vanessa Sterling's heart is secretly refreshed. What about genius? What about the first beauty? Isn't she pinched in the palm of his hand and played around? But that Boss Wang is so ugly. His son is very beautiful, with red lips and white teeth, and his little face is so tender that he can pinch out the water. Vanessa Sterling looked at Xavier Kingsley's fair and delicate skin, and wondered very unpleasantly, why didn't he inherit the big mole on his father's face? But it is said that baldness is hereditary. H. What's the use of being beautiful now? You can't get a daughter-in-law when you grow bald. Xiao Xia was cursing Chin Shiza for baldness in her heart, and suddenly heard Chin Shiza answer him in a crisp little milk voice. Of course I can say it. My father is Alexander Kingsley. He lives in Shin-chan Mansion, and everyone calls him the Ninth Master. As soon as these words came out, everyone was stunned. This little guy of Jojo Yi was the son of Qin Juye. Society lady's face was full of shock. How can you brag as much as your mother at such a young age? Vanessa Sterling said disdainfully. The Ninth Master does have a son, but the Ninth Master's son is a high-ranking young master, the future heir of the Qin family, and you are just a small wild seed. And you dare to pretend to be the son of the Ninth Master. Long Cheng, who does not know that the Ninth Master has a serious cleanliness habit, except for Miss Yin, he can't tolerate any woman to respect him. So young Master Qin's biological mother is definitely Miss Dr. Evelyn Hua. Not your mother who no one wants. Qin Shi frowned. This woman is so unqualified, her mouth is full of dirty words. His father did have a very serious cleanliness habit, and only Aunt Dr. Evelyn Hua could approach him. Except for Aunt Evelyn Hua, who could not stand the distance between other women and her as long as it was less than 1 meter, but outsiders only know one thing, but they don't know the other. In fact, my father hates it very much, either because my aunt can get close to my father, or because my aunt can get close to my father, or because my aunt is my father's personal doctor, and my father must endure his disgust to let him get close, in fact, every time, or because of the aunt's departure. My father would go to the bathroom to vomit for a long time, so my father didn't like it at all, or because my father likes his mommy. I'm not lying. Shin-chan suppressed his anger and said, "If you don't believe it, I'll call my father and ask him to come over." Hearing this, the society ladies, who were sitting on the sidelines and watching the excitement, instantly quieted down. Could it be true that he dared to make a phone call and take a closer look? This little guy is not really a little similar to the Ninth Master, but most people have only seen the Ninth Master in magazines or newspapers and have not seen the Ninth Master himself, so he was not sure for a while, so he began to whisper and discuss whether he was the child of the Ninth Master. I see that this little boy's eyebrows are somewhat similar to Juyi, not to mention the eyebrows, the side face is simply a miniature version of Juyi. Thinking about it this way, it shouldn't be the son of the Ninth Master. Seeing this, Vanessa Sterling became even more angry. He knew better than anyone that this little wild seed was by no means the child of the Ninth Master. He was the child of the nouveau riche boss Wang, the son of the nouveau riche, and he was actually recognized as the child of the Ninth Master. The more Vanessa Sterling thought about it, the more angry he became. Today he had to expose this mother and son who could only pretend to be forced in public. It was not feasible. Then you fight. Vanessa Sterling didn't have a good air. "I'll give you my phone. You can call." At this time, Victoria Sterling suddenly walked over. She hugged her son and frowned unhappily. "7 babies. What are you doing with this neurotic nonsense? Waste time and leave. Go home for dinner." "Sorry, Mom." She apologized to his mother seriously. "I didn't know he was a psychopath before, but now I know. I won't waste words with him anymore. This is my mother's good child." Victoria Sterling bent down and kissed her son's delicate little face fiercely, and Vanessa Sterling's lungs were about to explode. "Victoria Sterling, you and your little wild breed really know how to pretend," Vanessa Sterling exclaimed. "It's good if you can't call Juyi to honestly admit it, and pretend to be. It's really disgusting. Let's listen to it. This green tea is more good at making up, and if you can't call the Ninth Master, you don't dare to admit it, but say that you are too lazy to pay attention to me. You are too lazy to pay attention to me. If you can't leave at the beginning, why do you call your son to come over and brag and say that he is the son of the Ninth Master? The cowhide is blown up. And now he wants to leave. No way. If you don't call the Ninth Master this time, don't want to leave easily." Originally, society ladies saw that Xavier Kingsley was so similar to Alexander Kingsley, and they also believed that Shin-chan was Alexander Kingsley's son. But at first glance Victoria Sterling didn't dare to call, and when they realized they had been deceived, they were instantly annoyed. "If you don't have that much strength, don't brag about it." Society ladies also joined the fray. "Hurting people with a shelf and not spitting out dirty words. Now that the cowhide is broken and can't be closed, I want to slip away. How can there be such a cheap thing? It is like we are bullying people. But in fact, it's not that your son doesn't study well, and he is full of lies at a young age." Society ladies, you look at me. Although you don't spit out a dirty word, but the words you can say make people want to punch them. Victoria Sterling's face became more and more ugly. It was indeed wrong to lie, but his son was only 3 years old, and he was unscrupulous, and it was okay to change it to other adults to laugh. But these women were holding a shelf like dogs, and they were speaking ill of a 3-year-old child. Joshman was furious. And although he didn't know why the little guy lied that Alexander Kingsley was his father, it didn't matter. The important thing was that these seemingly decent adults were all watching his son's jokes. And he would never allow anyone to see his son's jokes. Victoria Sterling took out her phone from her bag with a calm face, as well as Alexander Kingsley's mobile phone number. But she didn't know Alexander Kingsley. "Are you willing to accompany him in this scene?" Taking a gamble, Joshman picked up his mobile phone and was about to dial, when several exquisite pickup trucks slowly drove into the community, and behind the trucks was a full carriage of blue roses. Pulling a total of 5 mini pickup trucks, the color of the rose is very dark, and you can see that the variety is noble at a glance. RAO is these self-proclaimed rich society ladies are also stunned, who is so generous that they actually bought 5 truckloads of high-grade blue roses. Society ladies exchanged ears and wondered who had made the roses. The mini trucks stopped abruptly, and the drivers got out of the car one after another. Led by a man in his 30s with a pigtail behind him and a particularly artistic hairstyle, he is Jiang Shin-cheng, a special florist of Shin-chan Mansion, and he is also a famous cultivation master in Huigua, who has cultivated many precious flowers and plants. But this famous master came to Victoria Sterling respectfully with a group of apprentices at this moment, and then bent down to Victoria Sterling together salute. "Hello young grandma, I am Jiang Shin-cheng, a special cultivator of Shin-chan Mansion, and today in the name of Feng Juye, I am here to send flowers to the young grandmother. Welcome everyone to watch the tweet. This is a long novel. If you want to see the follow-up, please leave a message in the comment area. Look forward to the follow-up or like the video. I will update it in time according to your feedback. See you in the next issue." Alright, that's the end of today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. We'll keep updating with more exciting stories, and we look forward to seeing you next time.